Does the legal ID not play there anymore?
Did it not play?
It hasn't played this week.
It
It goes straight out of that commercial, straight into the intro.
Good morning.
It is a good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Friday morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. How do you do, America? What up, South Carolina? Howdy, world. Welcome in. Great to be with you one more time again. The foremost electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment you're going to find anywhere, at least this early in the morning, is the Rob Brown Show. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo, on the ones and twos this AM, bringing you the juice, the gas, the energy, the excitement, the electricity every single day of the week.
Can we not bring the gas? I mean, we can bring the juice. Let's not bring the gas.
Not that kind of gas.
Okay, because, your video's not working, by the way.
Yeah, just everything over here is shut down right now.
Cool.
There's like a loose connection somewhere.
And I just
two nothing.
That's two. Well, I had a good run.
It's early.
I had a good run for a while.
I'm
couple of ties, which are wins.
Yep.
And then
you went back to back a couple of weeks ago.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
You're good. You're hanging in there.
Hopefully my loss this week is not a sign of things to come for me.
I just love that as soon as there's like anything, Lonzo's like, that's it. I'm out. I'm done. I'm cooked. I'm Russell Wilson. I'm done.
Oh, here's the thing. So you think you won? You could have a really bad day.
I could. I just said that. It's early in the day.
I'm using psychology. You're acting like I'm not using psychology.
For those of you that are maybe perhaps potentially new to the show, new to the Armada, Lonzo and I have a little internal competition on the daily where we keep track, as we are obviously professionals, both in charge of our own microphones. We keep track on the daily of how many times one of us goes to speak without turning our microphone on first. And that's our little weekly competition. The winner pays the loser $500 weekly. And neither of us has ever made a profit on this game. So if you ever tune into a segment and you hear one of us just say a number randomly as the first thing that we say when we crack the mic, that's what we're doing. We're keeping track of I forgot to turn my mic on that time. The score for this week so far, but it is just 6:03 on Friday, meaning there are still 11 segments after this one that I completely could bleep it up. Lonzo is currently down in a 2-0 hole for this week.
If you're watching on stream, because we are live on all the streaming platforms, you will notice excessive celebration when one or the other messes.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Like
a lot of money riding on it.
It is more competitive than your local pickup basketball game. Okay? It is competitive. And for the record, nobody pays the other with an L. That part's a joke. It's more of a pride aspect to the game. It's more of a, hey, look at me. I out-professionaled you in the dumbest possible way this week, kind of thing. So if you tune in and you hear one of us go 2, that's what's happening. All right, it's Lonzo and I being unprofessional children at the office is what it is, because they let us do that.
We're not being unprofessional. We are doing what's accepted and expected in the profession that we chose.
Yeah, that's it. We're just keeping track of who forgets to do the most basic thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have forgotten to turn my microphone on. I am self-reporting, and I apologize. I'm not good at my job. Go to NPR. I mean,
All right, we got a lot we got to get to. It is not just Friday. Got to get down on Friday, ladies and gentlemen. There is more to it than that. It is not just Friday, got to get down on Friday. I mean, it is that. But it is also Friday, got to get down on Friday, and we're off Monday. 3-day weekend, or as Lonzo and I like to call it, A weekend.
A weekend, yes.
Because Lonzo hosts on Saturday evenings the Upstate Pulse on our brother station, 98.9 WORD, the pop culture show for nerds in the Upstate. And I host a little show called Bet for the Cycle every Saturday from noon to 4 here on the BitQL network and on Fine Odyssey stations everywhere. Where Cody Decker and I, former Major League Baseball player Cody Decker and I, just walking through all the sports in a little show we like to call Wagertainment. But when we get a Monday off, Lonzo and I get 2 days off back to back, which happens like 6 times a year. It's a lovely feeling.
As MJF would say, it's what the normies get to enjoy all the time.
Correct. And so we are off on Monday. The only issue with that is that Monday is a very big day on the old sports calendar, because Monday evening, Lonzo's Ohio State University Buckeyes are going to be squaring off
the Ohio State. Yeah,
I'm not. You know what? I think I've landed on. I'm not doing that. Why are you guys the only state university that does that?
We've had this discussion because there's also an Ohio University. So you have to say the Ohio State University, so you don't get confused with that other Ohio University.
But again,
it's for clarification purposes.
Every state has a blank state university, and none of the other ones say, we trademarked the. No, you didn't. No, you can't trademark the.
Well, they didn't. They tried.
They did try.
Which I still think is hilarious that they tried.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Absolute credit for the troll job.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think of it totally different. That's exactly what it was.
I mean, I have to be like, oh, well, it was a funny gag, so I'm in. No, I'm not. It's still dumb. I still don't like it. All right? I still don't like it. That being said.
Lonzo like dumb things.
No. Buckeyes like dumb things. Theirs different. Why did I keep going with that stick?
There is different.
Why did I go with? There was no need to keep going with that shtick. Monday night, Ohio State University takes on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to declare to crown the 2024-2025 NCAA College Football National Champions. Now, as I said just mere moments ago, Zoe and I are off on Monday. There is no show on Monday morning as we pay our respects to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on Monday. So no show Monday morning. You know what that means? This show is not just Friday's show. This show is also Monday's show. It's 2 shows for the price of 1. But wait, there's more.
That's too much show, man. We can't do that. That's too much show.
Today's show is Friday's show. This show is Monday's show. And since Monday is National Championship Day here in these great United States of America, that means today's show is Friday's show, Monday's show, and our college football national championship preview show. Yay. Pretty excited about all of that. So, coming up on the radio broadcast today, we will dive into football. We'll spend a little time on football. We will then progress and do at least a segment or 2 of football. And then the highlight of the show, the topic I am most looking forward to chatting with you all about in the final couple of segments of the show, football.
That's too much. We should charge them. You can't give all that away for free.
Not only can I, Billy Mays here. I will. I'm crazy. I'm crazy here at Big Rob Sports Talk Emporium. These deals are crazy. Buy 4 hours of sports talk radio for the price of 0. Would you rather be Billy Mays or ShamWow Guy? I feel like ShamWow Guy was more famous, but like the time was short.
ShamWow Guy got his lip bit off by a prostitute.
He did.
So I'd rather be Billy Mays.
He did. He did get his lip bit by a lady of the evening.
Apparently, she stretched it pretty far when she did it too. Talking about his lip.
Do you think if it started bleeding, do you think you like applied pressure with a ShamWow? That wouldn't work, right? Like the whole premise of the ShamWow was that it moved the liquid.
Yeah, that would not work.
Well, no, was the ShamWow absorbent or was it like, I don't remember because it's been so long since I've, seen a ShamWow, which at one point was like the number one product in America, point blank.
Did you buy a ShamWow?
Not a joke. Owned a ShamWow. Now I didn't order it off the TV.
Okay. Did you go to the mall and go to the?
I went for
the
As Seen on TV store. Okay.
Like you can't go to the mall and not go in that store.
For the record, this was a very long time ago. This was back obviously when I was on my old station back down in Florida. But great one. My old show back down in Florida was every bit, if not more nerdy than the show that we do now. And one of the things that myself and my old producer, Dollar Bill, one of the things that we used to do was we would go to the As Seen on TV store and we would genuinely purchase and try out products. Honestly, this was in the early days of YouTube, right? This was when YouTube was really kind of getting it started. This was back in the Charlie Bit Me days, all right? If you know what I'm talking about there, make an appointment with your proctologist. It's time, okay? Back in the Charlie Bit Me early days of YouTube, Dollar Bill and I this was back when I was, ambitious and stuff. So back when I was ambitious and stuff.
Put away those childish ways.
Very long time ago. I'm a grown-up now. I realize that the world is going to beat me down into a pulp and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. But back when I had hopes and dreams.
You got to get up the next day and deal with it all over again.
Back when I had hopes and dreams and aspirations and all that, which was, again, a very long time ago. Back when I had those things, Dollar Bill and I were trying to start. We were gonna start a YouTube channel, great one, where we just did reviews of, TV late night infomercial products. And so we went for the ShamWow. And I got to tell you.
You do that now, there's going to be a lot of little blue pill type things that you would have to be testing. You probably don't want to do that. Or no, maybe you do. I don't know.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Rob. I'm here at the doctor's office. I was at home for 4 hours, and they told me to call him. 5 out of 5 stars. Would recommend. Oh, ow. What was that?
Really?
I'm not proud of that one.
That's got to be.
I'm not proud.
That's got to be the worst thing you've ever done.
I suspect I'm going to get in trouble for that one.
Oh
later.
No, it's
early enough. I'm probably good. Yeah, I'm probably good. Anyway,
I don't know what you accidentally hit yourself. You drop stuff all the time, and I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, man. I was just fumbling my pen, and I tried to catch it, and
it happens.
You know how it goes. All right, but I don't know how in the world the only sports talk show in the world that's going to get you 13 minutes into football and then switch to ShamWows. But we're out here. We're men of the people. We are men of the people. So we have got college football and NFL for you. The national championship game on Monday. The NFL's divisional round coming up today. Later on in the show, I was watching, again, when I'm sitting at the crib with nothing to do, and unfortunately right now there's a lot of sitting at the crib. While I'm sitting at the crib with nothing to do, one of the things that I will do is just scroll podcast, vlogs. Do we still call them vlogs? Vlogs, whatever. And just collect takes. And see what I like and what I don't, what we want to address and what we don't, and start to form my own opinion about those takes, et cetera. And so yesterday I was scrolling around looking at some takes, and one of the takes that I came across was one from CBS Sportsline, where one of their hosts, Mike McClure, said there's all this conversation about fixing the NFL playoffs. There's all this conversation about fixing the NFL playoffs. And, last week we had that conversation, And I was like, I don't know if it needs to be fixed. And now it may still not be. But we do know one thing, which is the TV ratings in week number 1 were down 10% from last year. And so we had a little bit of a conversation about why that is. And there was a text that came in that I did not see until after the show was over on our text line at 844-326-3663. There was a text that came in that I did not see until after the show was over. And the text basically said, Rob, look at the bracket from last year and look at the bracket this year. It was just a more entertaining playoffs last year. It felt like we had better teams. It felt like there were better narratives. And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't throw all this in the text, but you kind of got the vibe. So look at the bracket last year. Look at the bracket this year. Last year's bracket was just more compelling, especially in round number 1 of this year. It wasn't super compelling. Like, what matchups were compelling? Not good, compelling. Was Chargers-Texans something you felt the need to go out of the way for? And I wanted to be like, yeah, dude, but then I realized my buddy, my old frat bro who lives out in Seattle that I haven't seen in like 14 years, he called me and he was like, dude, why don't you come up to Asheville on Saturday? Let's go out, check out a couple of breweries. I got a couple of days in town. And the first thought that I had, and I say this so my wife knows she's not alone, the first thought I had was, do I go do that, dude? There's playoff football on. And then I was like, oh, it's Chargers-Texans, right? I'll probably catch up with that later on. I can watch that on the DVR when I get back to the house. And it ends up, that's exactly what I did. It's exactly what I did. So I don't think that that's an unfair take. And he said last year's bracket was different. So I think that the conversation we're going to have today, which is there a way to fix the playoff? I've got one thought on it. May become irrelevant if football this weekend is really good. Now, again, Baltimore-Buffalo is the answer. Outside of that, which game in these playoffs is must-see TV? Cannot miss it. Doesn't matter what you got going on. Skip your child's first birthday party to stay home and watch this game. Levels of good. Ravens-Bills is, to me, the only one in the public eye.
All right. I don't get why people are saying this. Usually it doesn't get really good to the championship games. It's just like that every year. You get some blowouts, you get a good game here or there, but they're not all going to be good games. That's not how it works.
I don't disagree. What games have we had so far that was good? We've had one. We've had one game in the first round that was good. We had 6 games. There was one good one. Commanders, Buccaneers. Every other game was not good. I agree with you. You're going to have blowouts in football. I don't care if it's a 12-team, 16-team, 42-team, or 2-team. Occasionally, you're going to have a blowout. But when there's 5 of them and one good game, something's got to be said. Something's got to be done. And I don't know that the playoff format is going to encourage or discourage any of that, or if it's just a matter of how do you make some teams that stink stop to stink so much?
There's these joyless individuals are really going to have a problem in about a month when football's over. And then they'll look back and go, oh, it really wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. It was fairly entertaining.
I mean, I guess if you want to call me the most energetic man in sports talk radio a joyless loser, have at it. But I don't think it's joyless to say the first round wasn't great.
All right. You said you looked at last year's matchups. Name the good games in the first round last year.
Green Bay at Dallas.
Who cares?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
I don't.
Not
only do I not care, but it's not memorable.
What do you mean it's not memorable? See, it's literally in the 5 years we've had a 7-team, it is the only 7-team to win. In 5 years of having a 7-team on both bracket, they are the only 7 seed to win a game so far.
Did the winner of that game win in the next
No,
round?
they got their asses kicked the next round.
But
as the 7 seed,
2 really bad teams played, but it was entertaining. Okay.
As the 7 seed, they went to Dallas and they knocked off the 2nd seed in the NFC. Yes, that's compelling to me.
Yeah, but it was Dallas. It's not really compelling.
Still the 2 seed.
It's expected.
The 2 seed. Like, even if it's a narrative game, it's still the 2 seed. All right, we're gonna circle back around to this because I do want to make this a segment for you. Here's what I'm gonna tell you right now. Our text poll of the day is up and running, and today's very simple. Who you got? Ohio State or Notre Dame? Text 844-326-3663 and begin the text with either Irish or Buckeyes. 844-326-3663. Text the show with either Irish or text the show Buckeyes. Who is winning the Natty on Monday? When we come back, we'll set that up. We'll keep this NFL playoff discussion going. Busy day on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I got to run and get a fresh battery for this. It died.
That's true, Zach. And the last couple of years, you could have thrown San Francisco in there too. So. Sounded like Cookie who forgot the ingredients to make today's supper for all the boys. Dadgummit.
You know what was on TV yesterday? So the mom-in-law staying with us for a few days. And yesterday, I saw for the first time in my life a full episode of The Waltons.
Mm-hmm.
First time in my life.
Did you make it all the way through the end? Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen.
I literally stayed just for that. I was like, let me stay to the end just to hear it on TV. Because like that's what my mom used to say when people go to bed. She's like, "Good night, John Boy," and I was always like, "Okay, it's from an old TV show. I don't know." And then I eventually found out what it was, but I never watched it. So I went home yesterday, and she was watching it, and I was like, "I gotta watch an episode of this." It's a good show, man.
It's a very good show.
It's a good show.
It's wholesome. It's a lot of
they
things.
They did an episode where, and I've forgotten the character's name. They had two of the young kids, I guess, just came back from World War II. I guess this was a 50s show about the 40s or maybe late 40s. I don't know, but had just come back from World War II. And like they were clearly they obviously wouldn't have called it this at that point, but they were clearly struggling with PTSD. And it was like for the time, it was really well addressed as a story.
Some of those old shows were very well written. Mom was a big Waltons person.
I did laugh. There was one episode where I don't know who they were. I don't know any of the characters' relationships, but they had two old ladies and they found their grandfather's moonshine still from 100 years ago, from the mid 1800s. And they were like throwing a party because they didn't understand that. I mean, they knew it was moonshine, they knew it was a drink, but they didn't understand it being illegal and all that. So these two old ladies tricked the cops to keep their moonshine still. And I was like, Go ahead, grannies. Go on. Lie to the police. I got you back. I love it. It was cracking me up. Rob Lonzo and you here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Phone line is open. Text line is open. They are the same line. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number. If you'd like to be a part of the show, we would certainly love to have you here on the radio broadcast this lovely Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Text poll of the day is a very simple one. The question of the day is, who you got? Who you got? The Ohio State Buckeyes, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. 844-326-3663. Save that number as a contact in your phone. That way you can text us anytime you want, and you can just pop in the Fan Upstate. 844-326-3663. You are going to, let's make it real simple today, text one of two words in order to participate in today's poll question of the day. You can text Irish or you can text Buckeyes. Those are your two voting options. To the person who during the break texted Meteor, that's actually really funny. That's actually a really funny text. That's it. You know what? Hang on. I'm good with that one.
I'm curious if that person will still be watching.
Yeah. I mean, I think even if you are rooting against both teams, it's still the college football national championship game. It is the last college football game that we are getting for 260 some odd days, 270 some odd days. Yeah. I'm watching every second.
Texter, you've already put your orange away. You did that a little while ago. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy what could be a good game. And root against Ohio State. You know you're going to. That's why this poll is going to end up being Notre Dame.
In one segment, you're up 4-0. Four Buckeyes, 0 Irish so far.
Clemson people ain't up yet.
I got you. Yeah, they are.
No.
Ain't they got cows to milk and stuff?
Yeah, but they're in the ones that do are out in the field.
So they are up.
Okay.
They're
All
just
right. Hey, I was wrong. You were right.
You'll get used to that. Anyway.
How many years have we been to? Okay. Anyway.
So, who you got? 844-326-3663. This one's simple. Text Buckeyes or text Irish. Who do you got on Monday night? I have already said I'm taking the Buckeyes in this one. There's a couple of things here that I have to go with. The first is, do you know what has served me very well in these playoffs? This is something that I have done in these playoffs after I got my ass handed to me in the first round. I thought the first round was going to be wildly compelling. I thought we had a couple of potential, nay, probable upsets that were going to go. I picked UT over Ohio State. Turns out I, along with most everyone in America, was very wrong about the Buckeyes. Turns out they're the best team in the country, or at least playing like it right now. I thought Tennessee was going to go in there and beat them. I thought SMU would at least show up in the first round. Instead, we had multiple blowouts in the first round. So I switched my picking philosophy in the second round. My picking philosophy in the second round became just pick the better team, right? Just pick the better team.
How does that usually work out for you? I know it sounds logical.
Well, and here's where I wanted to go with it. I think for a lot of people, and this is a spot that a lot of people have a conflict over. And it's a conversation we have. It's a phrase that we use ordinarily and normally when we are going through the selection process, right? Like who should get in and who should not. But I think for me, I go back to the question that I asked when we have that conversation about who should be in and who should not. If you say Oh, the best 4 teams, Rob. Who should we get in? The best 4 teams. Great. I need you, when you tell me who your best 4 teams are, I need you to tell me the reasoning behind it. Not just say, these are the best 4. Because I don't accept eye test as a primary. I will accept it as a part of the conversation. For instance, picking Ohio State to beat Oregon was largely based on the fact that Ohio State dismissed Tennessee with such prejudice. But there were other reasons to have picked Ohio State. If you pick the Buckeyes in that, and I'll keep it a buck. That's the one game I got wrong in the second round. Only game I got wrong in the second round, if I recall correctly. I thought I picked Oregon over Ohio State. I said, okay, good win over Tennessee, but this is a different breed of cat. That was a 2-loss SEC team. Now they are not on the road, but pretty much on the road against the consensus, no questions asked, number 1 team in the college football playoffs. And I got that one wrong. And if I'd have gone eye test based on what we had seen the week before and the fact that we had not seen the Oregon Ducks in a hot minute, I'd have probably been better off, right? I'd have been better off. So because of that, I think for me, I look at this situation. I look at this situation and I have to ask the question, what do you base these selections on? I have based it on this in the second round, in the semifinals, and on to the next round. Lonzo, I very simply looked at the offensive rankings. I have looked at the defensive rankings. I have looked at those rankings and said, where do they average out on the national scale? And then put that into the best of my ability, the context with strength of schedule being considered. And the reality of this situation is that it's kind of tough to do that with Ohio State, because Ohio State is a team that, do we agree that Ohio State looks like a different football team now than they did even with the wins back in, say, week 8?
The way the team is, it's still the same team. They have a different fire to them.
That's what I'm asking. I'm not talking about is it a different set of players. I'm saying
they definitely have a different fire to them.
This team, this Ohio State team,
they've always had the capability and best team money could buy and all that stuff that people have been saying. They've always had the capabilities and the chemistry was there. There was just something missing, and but they have found the fire. And whether it's rallying behind their coach or naysayers or whatever, they found a fire and now they do look different.
I think so. Right now, I would also say this. I go back and I look at the regular season. The games they had that were close on the road at number 1 Oregon, 32-31 loss. The Nebraska game, 21-17, they win that game. That game was much closer than you'd like. But I also point out, I think this is a Nebraska team under Matt Rule that is going to be competing for some big prizes very soon under Matt Rule. I think, and I don't know if we want to blame the portal or NIL or whatever, but I think the expectations that Matt Rule was just going to show up and this team was going to be, smoking chumps out of the gate. Now, it's going to take a couple of years. Right? Like Matt Rule didn't on the team and show up with 31 transfer portal players right out of the gate. Matt Rule showed up, and it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get his philosophy, his system, whatever. So I don't think that loss is as bad as it looks. You had a 7-point win over Penn State, and I think a lot of people are going, wait a minute, James Franklin kept this one close until the stretch. Yeah, well, it turns out maybe Penn State was pretty good. Maybe they're pretty good. College football playoff semifinal. Maybe they're pretty good. And then you had the loss to Michigan, which was the misnomer, right? That was the misnomer. That was the game that I think you look at and you go, I don't know, like what went wrong? And we came in here and we've obviously had a lot of conversation about what went wrong for Ohio State in that game. I have given you my thoughts on it. I think Chip Kelly screwed the pooch, but it also clicked into a different gear for the Buckeyes. What I'm not going to sit here and do is pretend that Ohio State was unimpressive in the regular season. I don't think they ever jumped off the page as like a natty front runner during the season, but we're not going to pretend like they weren't impressive. And if you go look at the offensive and defensive rankings of Ohio State and Notre Dame, Ohio State's better. They're just better. On paper, statistically, empirically speaking, they are on paper a better football team. And then I go look at Notre Dame. Yeah, they beat a Texas A&M team by 10 to open the season. But number one, and I know this is kind of poo-pooed, and that's okay. I don't particularly get super jacked up about week one games, even if they are on the road. I mean, it's a good win. I'm not trying to dismiss the win, but very few teams not coached by Nick Saban are anywhere close in week one to what they're going to ultimately end up being. So it's a good win. You lost to NIL in week two. Why? Because Notre Dame was nowhere close to becoming what they were going to be at the end of the year. But then they put up 66 on Purdue. They beat number 15 Louisville. They beat a Georgia Tech team that took Georgia to 6 overtimes and put up, almost 700 yards of offense. They are the reason Navy finished the year unranked. They caught a break in Florida State. They hung a 50 burger on them. They are the reason Army was unranked. It's a pretty good team. But I would argue that if you're making the argument, as I have, this is not me backing off of it, it's just making a point. If you're making the argument that the Big Ten is not as good as it's been made out to be by some excellent public relations firms, it's not really like Notre Dame was running a gauntlet either. And so I think they're pretty fairly comparable schedules. If anything, Ohio State's was tougher than Notre Dame's. And yet when you go look at the offensive and defensive efficiency rankings, Ohio State was better at both. I'm just picking the better team. And oh, by the way, you've had a couple of playmakers that have stepped up and you can utilize them on the outside. Oh, by the way, you've got 2 All-American running backs that have done a wonderful job splitting carries and playing 2 different roles. Ohio State's just a better football team, and I feel like I can prove it with the numbers now. So who you got? Text 844-326-3663. Text Irish or text Buckeyes, and let's see who the upstate is rolling with in Monday night's Natty. We'll keep talking college football and NFL divisional round as the Rob Brown Show rolls on right here on the Fan Upstate. All right, stay right there, guys. Are you stepping out? Be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. that we come back from this. There are plenty of people I haven't liked, and then I'm like, oh, you redeemed yourself. We're good now. But it's genuinely, it's rare that I don't like somebody without a pretty good justification. Have you guys seen this this Brian Kelly stuff? Brian Kelly, now the coach at LSU, and you know what the number one trait they're looking for down in Baton Rouge is? Family. Brian Kelly, of course, after a number of years as the head coach at Notre Dame, left Notre Dame unexpectedly and high and dry to go become the head coach at LSU. Well, Brian Kelly was asked earlier this week, are you pulling for the Irish in the national championship? And Brian Kelly said, yes, quote, I'm happy for all those guys. I pull for them. A lot of guys that are there on both sides of the ball, I recruited. Obviously, I want to see those guys win it all, and I think they're in a great position. I'm totally excited for those guys. Now, that quote, fine.
I was going to say, that sounds reasonable.
It does.
I don't know why you would dislike him over that.
I don't dislike him.
Unless you're like in certified hater mode and you think he should be too. I don't know.
Oh, with Brian Kelly, I don't stay certified, or I don't get certified hater mode. I stay certified hater mode. Because back in 2021, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to head down to LSU. Brian Kelly, in his time with Notre Dame, 11 seasons, 2010 to 2021, led the program to the national championship game in 2012. We all remember that one. Nick Saban and his Tide ran Manti Te'o, his fake girlfriend, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish out of the building. Notre Dame was not ready. Brian Kelly went 1-7 during his tenure at Notre Dame against AP top 5 teams. 1-7. 1-7. When he left Notre Dame and he got jumped, bro, WTF, dude. What are we doing here? Why are you taking off? Brian Kelly said that he was leaving because he wanted to go somewhere where he, quote, have the resources to win a national championship. He said he wanted to, quote, be in an environment where I have the resources to win a national championship. Now, I'm going to say this. Let's frame it up this way. Number one, Lonzo, do you think that Notre Dame is a school that has the resources to win a national championship?
I would have to say yes, Rob.
I would have to say yes, Lonzo. What with the whole, they're playing for one tomorrow? Now, maybe you look at that and you go, hang on, Rob, hang on. When Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, Nick Saban was at Alabama. It was a little tougher. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is if you were Brian Kelly running the program, you were running the program. You absolutely had the resources to win a national championship at Notre Dame. Anybody does. You went 1-7 against AP top 5 teams. Marcus Freeman so far, since he has taken over back in 2002, Marcus Freeman, Zoe, has played 5 AP top 5 teams in the last few seasons.
How's he done against those teams?
He's 3-2. As in, he has won. And I've done the math on this, and you guys know me. I'm a bad mather. I'm bad at mathing. Marcus Freeman, since taking over coming into the 2022 season, Marcus Freeman has won 300% more games against AP top 5 teams than Brian Kelly did, who left Notre Dame to go somewhere with the resources. Now, here's my favorite part. My favorite part is because some young intrepid reporter said, YOLO, watch this. Brian Kelly got asked after he said, of course I'm pulling for Notre Dame. Some of the guys there I recruited. I want to see them go get a natty. Go Irish. That's all well and good. Some young, intrepid reporter said, well, Brian, you left because you said Notre Dame didn't have the resources to win a national championship, yet here they are. And Brian Kelly did something that I feel so many people in positions of authority grossly do nowadays. He went ahead and said, I'm being set up by the media. He said, quote, that's just the way you want to twist it. You only leave Notre Dame to go win a championship. I wasn't leaving Notre Dame because I couldn't win a championship. You can win championships at Notre Dame, but I chose another path because I wanted a different challenge. Okay, Brian. Okay, buddy. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that the SEC provides you, as college football goes, about as much in the way of resources as you can get. But, as we have talked about many times this offseason, we all know Notre Dame's independent for a reason, right? Like, this doesn't shock anybody anymore. I understand people wanting to scream that Notre Dame should have to get into a conference. Sure, why not? But we all understand why they're not, right? NBC gives them a contract that is on par with the money that SEC teams get from their contract with ESPN. And oh, by the way, just about every Notre Dame game gets shown on national television. And while that may or may not mean a lot to you, that is enormous in the recruiting world.
Actually, I think you misspoke. Every Notre Dame game.
No, when they are on the road against some conference, like some people in a conference, sometimes that conference owns the right to that games. So, like if Notre Dame's at USC, the Big Ten actually owns the right to that game.
How in the world would they allow that to happen?
That's how the TV contracts work. When those teams sign up and sign their rights, that network gets first right of refusal on some of those games. So not every Notre Dame is on NBC. Every home game's on NBC. And a chunk of the road games are on NBC. Not all, but more games for Notre Dame are shown on a national television network than, say, Georgia or Bama. And in the world of recruiting, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. The ability to put your brand into every television in America and get paid as much as Georgia and Alabama do to have, 3 of their games broadcast nationally every year is a huge tool. And oh, by the way, Notre Dame's going to get the same payout for their run to the national championship from the college football playoffs as Ohio State does. Do you know what the difference is? Ohio State's payout goes into the conference coffers and gets split up. Do you know where Notre Dame's payout goes to? Notre Dame.
Does that really matter, though?
I don't know, man. Do you think upwards of $20 million helps or hurts your program? I would say $20 million helps you no matter who you are.
Considering the two programs, yay, Notre Dame gets to use all their money and Ohio State has to split it.
Right. Yes. That's a huge benefit to Notre Dame.
All right, I could say good luck with your consolation prize.
I mean, again, winning the national championship will probably bring more attention, what with the rich get richer phenomenon. Winning the Natty is certainly going to bring more attention to the football program than whatever you're going to do with $20 million versus what Ohio State will get, which will be like 7 of that $20 million. All right. However, if Notre Dame beats Ohio State, they get a Natty and the whole $20+ million. So yes, it's a big time benefit. If anything, I would make the argument to Brian Kelly, it should theoretically be easier to win a Natty at Notre Dame than it is at Ohio State or LSU or anywhere else. Why? You get the same television revenue payout, but all of your games are on a national primetime spot every week. You get more money that is dedicated solely to you, and Notre Dame has 100% control of their schedule from week 1 to week 14. They are one of a very small number of college football teams who have 100% control of their schedule. They can orchestrate it however they want to. And if that's the case, then everything Brian Kelly just said is dumb and bad. Like, I don't know if this guy's actively going out of his way to look like a clown, but he looks like a clown. Well, I came to LSU to be in an environment to win natties. Dude, it was a better environment to win natties at Notre Dame. You're just bad at this.
Why is he being interviewed anyway?
Because he was the former Notre Dame coach who left them on a sour note.
Why need to say, nah, I'm not taking any interviews. I'm no longer with that team. I'm with this team.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to start with probably because he's kind of a moron, but that's just me. I could be.
I mean, if you know the kind of questions they're going to ask, and it's specifically about the team you used to work for, say, I've moved on from that part of my life. I'm now with LSU. Thank you for offering to interview me on it, but I decline.
You and I had a conversation not terribly long ago. I had this with Lee Rogers from Brother Station WORD the other day too. There is one school in our area that has made it impossible for us to interview their coaches. Okay? And I don't think it's a secret what school I'm talking about. No need to call it out. There's one school in the area that has made it impossible. Nope, stop it. One school in the area that's made it impossible for us to interview their coaches. They just don't say yes. Okay? And I was talking to Lee about an interaction I had with that school not too long ago. And he goes, that's real dumb. Why would you not? That's why. Because if you're a college coach, even if you're going to get grilled, being on a TV camera and a mic does what? It beams you into the homes of college recruits and gets you up in notoriety. At the end of the day, even if you're being attacked relentlessly, being in front of a camera and a microphone is always good.
Who was the ACC coach at ACC Media Days who refused to be on the show because it's in the same area as
that would be Florida State's Mike Norvell.
Okay. So, I mean,
there's also a big difference between I'm not going to do an interview on, and I don't mean to denigrate us, but there's a difference between I'm not going to be on an interview with a station in Greenville, South Carolina versus I'm going to say no to the SEC network or the ACC network or ESPN or Fox Sports or one of the big dogs. We're not a big dog. We're the big dog in our hood, but we ain't a big dog in the grand scheme of things. Brian Kelly's never going to say no to it. If nothing else, I think Brian Kelly just likes hearing himself talk as much as anything else. It's a pub thing. He knew he was going to get grilled, but then he just went and said something dumb anyway, which is incredible. All right, 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-FONA. Who do you have in Monday Night's Natty? Text Irish or text Buckeyes, and at the end of the show, we'll tell you who the Upstate believes is winning the 2025 Natty. After the national championship winner of Sports Flashes, Lonzo.
Yeah, I've moved on. I'm now the world champ. The South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off another top 20 team with a 76-68 road win over number 19 Alabama last night. The Gamecocks' two leading scorers both came off the bench with Joyce Edwards scoring 21 and 16 from Malaysia Fulwiley. The Gamecocks are now 17-1 and 5-0 in conference as they look to regain their number one overall national ranking. Alex Ovechkin's march to history continued last night as the Washington Capitals star broke the mark for most goalkeepers scored on when he scored the only goal in 1-0 overtime win against Ottawa and against Levi Maralean, the 179th keeper beat by Ovechkin. Ovechkin has scored 21 goals this season despite missing 16 games with a broken leg. Tune in tomorrow at 4:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Chattanooga Mocs right here on the Fan Upstate. Is it wrong if I believe that a certain school won't, let us have their coaches because of me. Is that a pride thing? It's probably not true, but if a kitten sound was the reason, I think I'd kind of be okay with that.
So the NHL has announced their next stadium destination. They're doing games in football stadiums outdoors every year now. Ohio Stadium.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was texting last night with Doug Irwin, and we were like, maybe we go up for that. But I had the same struggle with a couple of NHL games that I've wanted to go to and haven't. Do I go to a historic, a legendary football college to see a hockey game before I go there to see a football game?
Well,
I think the answer is no, right? I think I have to go see an Ohio State game at Buckeye Stadium before I go see a hockey game.
aren't they also going to do some things like in Florida or something?
They are. They're doing an outdoor game in either Tampa or Miami next year.
Yeah, you should go to that. You know why?
I do kind of want to go to that.
You know why? Because it ain't going to be what it'd be in Ohio if you go there to see a hockey game.
You got to keep in mind, South Florida is the north. There's a lot of Yankees down there.
No, I'm talking about how cold it is.
Oh, no, it'll be like 40 degrees. I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, I do know how they do that. They have like technology to keep ice frozen is ridiculous in these big stadiums now. But I think it'd be pretty rad to go to a hockey game where the boys are playing in short sleeves because they can.
That's what I'm saying. If you go to Ohio, that's not going to be that.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cold. So you've seen 4 episodes now. What's the last thing you saw on Creature Commandos?
I'm in the middle of the episode where Frankenstein is chasing down the bride.
That's kind of the theme of the entire.
Okay, the first
okay.
episode where Frankenstein is like heavily involved.
Okay, is he talking with someone to get there?
It's the episode after he talks to the old lady on the phone.
Okay,
which is I think the second or third. So I'm either on the third or fourth now.
I'm trying to who's the last origin story you saw? Because they origin.
I haven't really seen one. I saw the fight between Phosphorus and Flag, the princess trying to seduce Flag, the old lady calling Frankenstein and saying she's here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like real early in. I've been a wee bit busy to watch this week.
I know.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Happy to have you. 7:01 to the AM portion of the day as we roll through the foremost electrifying hours in sports, talk, entertainment, anywhere on weekday mornings. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo on the ones and twos this AM, and you are welcome to be a part of the show. The phone line and the text line are the same line, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You can call the show. You can text the show. Your text poll question of the day today is, who do you got in Monday's national championship game? To cast your vote for who you believe is going to win this contest, you can text either Irish or Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. Irish or Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. Now, you can add more words after it, but start your text with either Irish or Buckeyes for your vote to count. Lonzo had a prognostication earlier that Notre Dame was going to run away with this poll. We are early in the day. The poll's only been up 40 minutes so far. But I can tell you, great one, as we are sitting on in 40 minutes, 27 votes so far, 2/3 of them are for the Ohio State Buckeyes. So far, and it is early, so far, the upstate is rolling with Ohio State University. Now, we have seen a couple of these polls get flipped on their head in the last hour of the show. Earlier this week, we did one where I asked, when football season comes to its conclusion, which sport do you want to see get more discussion here on the show? And for about 3 hours, baseball was in dead last, and in the last hour of the show, it skyrocketed up to first place. It was baseball and basketball in a tie, though in fairness, a lot of the folks who voted basketball said basketball, but only college, not NBA. So in terms of just consensus, baseball went from dead last after 3 hours to first place by itself in the final hour of the show. So we'll see if that flips on its head. But right now, your text poll question of the day is, who do you got Monday night? The Irish or the Buckeyes? Text Irish or text Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. We will tabulate the winner at the end of the radio broadcast, and we will tell you who it is the upstate is rolling with in Monday night's national championship game. That being said, it is 7:05 in the morning. You have 55 minutes on the dot as of right now to get into the office, to pop off some emails, and then to walk down that long hallway. I was going to say highway. Long hallway. Down, don't go walking on the highway. All right, it's Friday. Make it to the weekend. Go walk down that long hallway to the break room. Go stand around the water cooler, talk sports with your coworkers. And if you're gonna go talk sports with your coworkers, you need to know what's going on. And if you need to know what's going on, don't you worry, dear friends, because Lonzo and I do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying, "What kind of place is this?" Bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet. The top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this lovely upstate Friday morning. When you do, here is what you are going to be talking about this day. Item number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I've done the research, and I can now officially confirm to you that Alex Ovechkin is very good at hockey. Yes, even at his advanced age, he is, after all, a whopping 39 years old. Ouch.
Ancient.
I know. At this point, I'm shocked that Avi doesn't turn into dust every time he's hit. But alas, he does not. Instead, Alex Ovechkin broke one record and came close to setting, or comes closer to setting, what is, or has been for many years, considered perhaps one of the most untouchable records in sports. Alex Ovechkin, in an overtime 1-0 victory over the Senators in Ottawa last night, got an OT goal to lift the Caps to a 1-0 overtime victory. He did so in the overtime period by beating Levi Merilainen to the goal. Stuck one between the pipes. The Caps get the dub. Merilainen becomes the 179th goalie that Alex Ovechkin has scored a goal against. He has now scored against more goaltenders than any player in the history of the National Hockey League.
Do you want to be the answer to a trivia question? I mean, for something like this, is that still good? Because he is now the answer. That goalie is now the answer to a trivia question.
I know this feeling as a fan because, Lonzo, if you go look at the NFL record books, if anybody ever says, when so-and-so set the record for the most blanks in the history of the NFL, which team did he do it against? Like 80% of the time, it's the Saints. Like 80% of the time, when they're like, player, back in 1982, player X set the NFL single-season record for most literally anythings. What team did he set it against? It's just guess the Saints. You're going to be right like 80% of the time. So I know the feeling, not like personally, but like a little bit personally. Anyway, Alex Ovechkin now needs 25 more goals to break Wayne Gretzky's record of 800. He needs 21 more goals, not 25. 21 more goals to move past Wayne Gretzky into number one on the all-time goals scored list. Gretzky is sitting at 894, a number that for basically, I don't know, since Wayne Gretzky retired, has felt like it was going to be an unbreakable record. Avi needs 21 more to get to that mark. The 39-year-old winger is on pace to get past that number by the end of the year. Let me make it even more impressive for those of you that don't follow hockey. Ovechkin has scored 21 goals in 29 games this year. Now, if you're not a hockey guy, what you may not think of is the fact that so far, the Capitals have played 45 games. Avi has scored 21 and 29. Do you know why he missed 16 games? Lonzo, he missed 16 games. That is effectively 2.5 weeks. With a broken freaking leg. Broken leg. My dude missed 2.5 weeks at 39. 2.5 weeks with a whole ass break. And not like a little break, not like a little hairline fracture, whatever. Like, dude's leg snapped. He missed 2.5 weeks before putting the skates back on and get back out there. That is what I believe Stone Cold would call one tough son of a...
Does he get made fun of for taking so long to get back from this injury?
Seriously, Avi, 2.5 weeks with a broken freaking leg?
It's hockey, man.
Yeah, man.
Come on.
Gosh, tape it up, bud. Put a little sticker tape on there. Get out there and gut it out, bud. Eh? Am I right, guy? Your spare parts, bud. What are we doing, Avi? Be better, eh? I got to tell you, over the last 3 years, I've been working for the hockey team. So, I'm around Kyle Mountain. I was around Lordo quite a bit. I'm around the players, whatever. I got a pretty good hockey voice. Like when it's time to talk hockey.
Do they really talk?
Oh,
like
yeah,
that?
bud.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things.
I knew the toughness thing. I mean, that's obvious. So yeah.
it's a very Canadian way to talk. But what happens is there's so many Northerners and Canadians in the league that it starts to get adopted by I don't know why. But it's an infectious way of talking.
So that's why you keep putting that accent on any team, on any sport up north.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's right.
It's all your hockey time lately. Okay. All right. Now we know.
Here's the deal, right? Like the boys get out there, they lace them up, they get on the pond, send some apples, hit some slappers, hit some rippers, and just light the lamp up, eh? Yes, that's 100% where it comes from. 100%. I don't know why. It's an infectious way of talking. I can't explain it. It just, you hear it, and I got called out on
it. Kyle Mountain doesn't talk like that.
Mountie does not.
Benetti doesn't talk that way.
No, Benetti, let me say this, and I mean this, and I say this out of love because I love Mark Benetti. Benetti is just broadcaster always. You can go have a beer with Mark Benetti and sit at a bar. Benetti's the only guy that does not, like I have a play-by-play voice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening as the New Orleans Saints take on the Kansas City Chiefs. My name is Rob Brown, live from New Orleans, Louisiana, for a contest between a Super Bowl contender and a toilet bowl citizen. Like I got a broadcasting voice. Benetti, that's just how he talks. That's why he's a broadcaster. That's just his voice. I did get called out on it not terribly long ago. Every year there is a charity dinner that the Rabbits do with one of the local charities. and I have emceed this event. It's a relatively nice event. I've emceed it for the last 3 years running. And one of the things that we do is before we go sit with the hockey team and kind of be like, guys, look, this is an event where you're going to be asked to do things. You have to do them. We're not asking you, and like we go through the whole thing. So last year I was sitting with the squad and we're going over this and the guys were asking questions and like they all have the hockey voice, right? Like it's the same voice. And so we were sitting there talking to the boys and we got about 30 minutes into the conversation and one of the dudes looks at me and he's like, why are you talking like that? I was like, I don't have an answer, dude. I've been around you enough. Apparently I've caught an STD, a speech transmitted disease.
Well, you have that problem quite often. I mean, depending on who you're talking to. And
I am.
I don't know if it's subconscious or what.
It's not. I'm fascinated with. I'm a words guy. I'm fascinated with words. I'm fascinated with the way people talk and why. And so it ends up just being something that like I lean into. Right? I don't know if it's like I think it is maybe some degree subconscious, and then I want to put myself in your shoes to understand where you're coming from, and it ends up kind of just like.
So it's not a fit in kind of thing. I know people, members of my family, who do that and don't mean to do it, but before you know it, they're talking like everybody else, and I'm like, why are you doing that? I don't
think it's a fit in thing because let's keep it a buck. Look at me. I've never tried to fit in anywhere. If I do, great. And if I don't, whatever. It just means I'm more the life of the party. I think it's just a matter of like, I'm trying to connect and that's I don't know, whatever. This is dumb. What are we doing?
Yeah, because if I'm trying to sound like you, I'm probably making fun of you.
Eh? Braden said, gotta watch Letterkenny, bud. Don't worry, pal. I have been. Love Letterkenny. Big fan.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
It's a show. It's a great show.
Well, I know it was a show, but a show about what?
We got to fly through the rest of these. I'll tell you because it's worth watching. Let's go to item number 2. Could we have a rival to the NBA popping up soon? The answer is probably not, but like maybe. Maverick Carter is a name that you will probably be hearing more of in the very near future. Maverick Carter is a business manager for LeBron James. Maverick Carter is out there right now trying to raise money to prop up a competitor to the NBA, but he's doing so on an international scale. ESPN confirmed a story reported Thursday by Bloomberg that Carter, who is, again, LeBron's, the face of the NBA, LeBron's business manager, is seeking $5 billion in international private equity funds to prop up a league that would consist of 6 men's and 6 women's teams that are based in and play games all around the globe. The goal would be to utilize this to make basketball more accessible in other parts of the world, build up a league around it. But according to the reports, the goal is not to act as a developmental league for the NBA. The goal is to be a competitor to it. The goal is not to go find the young Luka Doncic's of the world and grow them into NBA players. The goal is to just have the Luka Doncic's of the world. And I think it's interesting because if we had, say, a team based in the U.S., a team based in China, a team based in Africa, a team based in Japan, a team based in the Middle East, and a team whatever. If we had all of these teams around the world and the game was truly international, right? The Middle East team flies to China, the Japanese team flies to the United States, the U.S. team flies to Africa. I think obviously that it could succeed, but with only doing 6 teams, here's why it's interesting. What happens, great, if we have a team that is based somewhere in Central Europe and all of a sudden the Nikola Jokic's and the Luka Doncic's of the world, because this league can pay similar to what the NBA does, Luka goes, I'd rather stay in Slovenia. Nikola goes, I'd rather be by my horses. I'm staying in Europe. And all of a sudden, in a point in time where there is as much, if not more, European and African influence in the NBA as there ever has been in the league's history, all those players started to stay home to play in this league that LeBron James is indirectly for now, but indirectly connected to. Honestly, I make this, I am apprehensive that this could be a serious threat to the NBA. Genuinely. Finally, very quickly, item number 3. Not a need to spend a ton of time on this because, well, we're going to be spending effectively the rest of the show on it. We have got football, and a little bit more football coming up this weekend. We start with Wild Card Weekend in the National Football League. We get it started tomorrow. I love you tomorrow at 4:30 in the afternoon when the 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs are at the crib. They welcome in CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Over in the other side, the NFC side of the bracket, the other number 1 seed, the Detroit Lions. Detroit welcomes Jaden Daniels and his Washington Commanders into Detroit Rock City. Then on Sunday, a pair of games kicks off at 3 in the afternoon when the Philadelphia Eagles take on the LA Rams. We wrap up the NFL weekend at 6:30 Sunday when the Buffalo Bills travel to take on the reverse it. The Baltimore Ravens travel to take on the Buffalo Bills. And then, of course, on Monday night, your 2024-25 college football national championship, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the Ohio State University Horse Chestnuts do battle down in the Big Easy to take the crown. And we will give you our predictions, prognostications, and preview on all of those games and more as we roll on. 844-326-3663. Text me Irish, text me Buckeyes. Who you got on Monday night? Texter said, Rob, is a Canadian in the upstate. This hockey talk warms my heart. You're welcome, bud. Here for you, pal. Texter said, if I hang out with someone long enough, I start laughing like them. That is actually a phenomenon that a lot of people do. You don't talk, but you kind of pick up their laugh a little bit. I've actually heard of that before. And Texter said, Buckeyes, because screw Mitch Jeter and his treacherous self, I'm in certified hater mode. I hope his kicks knuckle and that the doinks are not in his favor. Jacob, are you okay?
Well written. The doinks are not in his favor. I love that.
May the doinks be never in your favor. Back after this on the Rob Brown. Jacob, take a deep breath, buddy. It's going to be okay. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. The doinks are not in his favor.
I just sent you something on Twitter. I'm interested. It only take it's not a video or anything. Look at it. You'll see.
Yes. On Twitter. Kobe. Ooh, 1 for 1.
My match is scary. So
No, I'm having to switch accounts. Hang on, I picked a real bad time to take a bite. Say something entertaining, Alonzo.
This is some of the new bumper I just put in. It's got more of a surfer
pop rock vibe.
surfer movie, and they're on their way to the next beach, and something major is about to happen.
Good montage song.
Yeah.
Good montage song. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Okay, now I'm ready to.
It's also called Sweet Victory, which hopefully I will taste twice in the next 3 days, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. We are talking NFL playoffs. We are talking college football national championship game here on the radio program today. The Buckeyes and the Irish get after it on Monday night. I'm leaning Buckeyes in this one. And by the way, your text poll is open right now. Question today, very simple. Who you got in Monday's Natty? Who you got? We're asking today because Lonzo and I are off on Monday. It is Martin Luther King Day. We are not going to be here. So today is our national championship game preview day. We are asking on our text line poll of the day, who you got? 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. I want you to text either Irish or Buckeyes. Irish or Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. I have been looking around, great one, at different takes on what it is that a team can do, one team or the other can do in order to win this game. And I think there's a couple of different spots that we have to lean on. I have said one of the weaknesses that I think can be exploited by Ohio State in this game is the fact that Notre Dame plays a press man coverage on the outside at the highest rate of anybody in the country. They are going to play a press man defense around 60% of the plays.
All right, explain to those who don't know what a press man defense is, what that is.
Sure, I would be happy to as a certified knower of ball. Man coverage, obviously. There is two types of coverage against wide receivers running passing routes. The first is a zone. If you ever hear zone defense, what that means is, and yes, those of you that are big knowers of ball, keep in mind, this is a show for everybody of all levels of ball knowledge. I am the professor of ball. So, this is football 101. If you are new to the game, if you are getting into the game, if maybe you have for the first time in your life entered a relationship with someone who loves the game, this is for you. Zone coverage is basically the defenders in the back of the defense defending against the pass. They defend an area of the field. Now, there's different types. You're going to hear a lot of different terminology, but all those terminologies mean is where on the field a defender is covering and how much of the field a defender is covering. You might hear cover two. That means you're dropping two safeties. Each of them is responsible for one half of the football field. You hear cover three. They're dropping three guys back. They're responsible for a third of the football field. There's all different types of zone coverage. But what you need to know at its core is that the defenders are dropping back and they are protecting an area of the field from anyone who might enter into it. The other type of defensive coverage against pass routes is man-to-man coverage. That is where a defender is placed in front of a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back, and their job is to don't let that guy catch the ball, right? And when you hear somebody say press, what that means is instead of doing what a lot of guys do, which is if I'm man-to-man covering Lonzo, I'm going to start 3 yards away from him so that when he goes into a full sprint, I am able to backpedal a couple of steps, and if he breaks to my inside or outside, turn my hips and run with him. Press man-to-man coverage is where I'm going to play up on the line. I'm going to be in Lonzo's face. And when that ball gets snapped, I'm going to hit him right at the line of scrimmage. I'm going to jam him up. You have a few yards that you can contact the wide receiver before he gets down the field. Press man-to-man coverage just means that when the offensive players line up on the football field, every defender in the second level or third level, that is the linebackers backwards, every defender is going to have a player that they are assigned to in man-to-man coverage. Your job is to stay with this guy and don't let him catch the ball. And if it is press man-to-man, that means that your job is to stay with that defender or that offensive player, don't let him catch the ball. And to do that, you are going to step up to that player, be in his face at the line of scrimmage, and you are going to press into him. You are going to hit him. You are going to hang on. You are going to stop him from getting on his route. Now, ordinarily, the reason that you are going to do that, the reason you're going to do that is because you want to stop if an offense is based on timing, right? So Will Howard gets the snap. He takes a 3-step drop. 1, 2, 3, throw the football. What that means is normally, for most quarterbacks, they are throwing the ball to a spot. 1, 2, 3, throw it there. And they're depending on the receiver to be there. Well, if I've got a guy up on that wide receiver at the line of scrimmage and he jams that guy at the line of scrimmage, that timing is thrown off. And now the quarterback has to 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's not going to be there because they've got him jammed up at the line. Now I got to go through my read progression. And there's a pro and a con to that. The pro is that you put the pressure on the quarterback because now instead of having a spot and timing to throw the ball, now he's got to make reads. The negative to a press man coverage is that if the wide receiver can get off of that press, if the wide receiver can shake his press defender and get up the football field, that defender is going to be behind the wide receiver. That's the one spot you do not want to be in if you are a defensive back. If I come off the line, if Lonzo's got me in press man up on the edge, and he comes off the line and he goes to hit me in the chest and hold me at the line, and let's say before he gets his hands on my numbers, I'm able to take my inside hand and just slap his hands away. Now he can't hold me. I get 2 steps against him. I'm past him. He's running in my back pocket, which means, theoretically, a well-thrown ball should be completed more often than it's not. Notre Dame likes to play a press man coverage on the outside. They are trying to effectively disrupt any timing and chemistry the quarterback may have built with the wide receivers. They're basically going to say, number one, we believe that we can jam up your wide receivers long enough for our defensive players to get back there and get to you before you can go through your reads. Or we don't believe that you are a good enough player to get through your reads, make the right read, make the right decision, and execute the throw to that wide receiver. We think we can throw you off enough and you won't be able to do that. Now, a lot of teams that play this press man-to-man do so because they're playing inferior talent more often than they're not, right? That works for Notre Dame if you are playing Stanford. That works if you're playing Cal. It's not as easy when you're playing Jeremiah Smith and playoff Willie Howard. That's a different breed of cat. That, to me, we've talked about this a bunch of times, that, to me, is the number one key to this game. The question mark for Lonzo and the Buckeyes is, based on what we've seen out of this Will Howard in the playoffs, are you comfortable, if Notre Dame plays all the press man in the world, are you comfortable with Will Howard to see, to read, to make the right decision, and to execute a good throw? And if the answer to that is yes, Buckeyes by 30. But if the answer is that to no, if you think Will Howard regresses to the mean because he's not seen this much press man on the outside and it's a different style of throwing, that's where they get in trouble. All right, we'll talk more about that. I'll give you some more numbers that jump off the page at me in this game. We'll talk some NFL divisional round. Rashad Beard coming up in a little over an hour on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Nailed it. Damn, I'm good. Over into me.
Depends on who you have on defense. Got some really good defensive backs. Physical, fast, tall. Then it frees you up to be able to do a bunch of other stuff. I think I may change up my plan tomorrow and not leave till halftime. No, I can't leave at halftime. Game starts at 4:30. Halftime would be at 6. That would be a mistake. Maybe I should just come up here.
I'll say, you just come up here and watch it
Yeah.
here. Did you know that there was a DC Looney Tunes crossover series? But it's very gritty DC. And
Oh, you're
in
talking
it-
about comic books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in it, apparently, Elmer Fudd's a total badass who
Yeah.
goes toe-to-toe with Batman for an entire book.
Yeah, I remember. when
And
that
also
came out.
Bugs Bunny's a mafia boss, which I'm all in. Let's flip it to the other side of the field. Well, I've told you what I think is the most important aspect of this game for Notre Dame. I think for Notre Dame, it is be very careful about, play the press man. That's what you're good at. It's what you've been doing all year. But I think you would better recognize that if Will Howard really is a brand new man, as Brooks and Dunn once famously sang, if Will Howard really is a brand new man and he's eaten up that press man early, right? I don't think that this is something, I think, Zoe, that Notre Dame is going to know by the end of the first quarter if this is working or not, right? If we get to the end of the first quarter and Will Howard's sitting on 100 yards passing already, Notre Dame's going to have to make a dramatic shift to the defensive side. They are going to have to get away from, you heard me talk about Penn State a couple of times this week, and I brought up the fact that I believe that Penn State lost their semifinal game against Notre Dame because they have been playing a particular style of defense all year long. And then, for reasons unknown and probably lost to history, all of the sudden, Penn State stopped doing that thing, right? Like all playoffs long, all regular season long, Penn State had brought in, and I liked it a lot, Penn State had brought in this defensive mentality of, look, we're taking away your best playmaker. That's what we are doing. We're taking Kevin Jennings from SMU. We're taking Ashton Janty from Boise State. We're taking away your best playmaker. And when they got to that game against Notre Dame, for the first half, they did a good job of that. For the first half, they took Love away. They took Riley Leonard and made him be a more traditional style quarterback. And it was working relatively well. And then for some reason, in the locker room at halftime, it felt like Penn State got scared. It felt like they backed off. It felt like all of the sudden, they were like, hey, you know what, guys? We got him in a good spot. We got him where we want him. Let's go out there and play a more base traditional defense. And would you look at that? A team that had been giving up 268 yards per game all season long gave up 261 in the second half alone. You think that was a coincidence? Do you think that, yes, a very good team and a well-coached team in Notre Dame, you think they found something in the schematics at halftime that transitioned them from like 100 yards in the first half to almost getting to Penn State's game yards allowed per game average in one half? No. Penn State pulled off. Penn State pulled back and dropped into a more traditional style of defense. And when they did that, the field opened up. Notre Dame's got to dance with the girl that brought them. That is to say, get into the face of the wide, especially Jeremiah Smith. Look, I said as a joke after the Oregon game that I'm relatively convinced the only way you're stopping 4 from having a day in these playoffs is to like get Megatron an NIL deal and get him helmeted up. That's it. Does Megatron wouldn't need a helmet, right? He's already got one. You just have to repaint.
Also, you weren't talking about Megatron from Detroit.
Correct. I was talking about actual Megatron.
No,
yeah.
he has a helmet.
Like the Decepticon.
Yeah, I think
the only way you're stopping
they
him.
all have helmets, I believe.
The only way you are stopping him is with actual Decepticon Megatron. Not get Calvin Johnson out of retirement. I'm pretty sure he is out of eligibility. I am talking, you got to light this cat up. You got to be in his grill. You got to be throwing him off platform. You have got to be disrespecting him. And for the record, Texas did that. The problem is Texas did that. They held Jeremiah Smith to 1 catch for 3 yards. Texas, I think, has one of the most underappreciated defensive backfields this year in college football. I think that they have better dogs at the third level than Notre Dame does. So if you are going to stop that guy, it's because you're going to get physical. You got to get physical. Let's start getting physical. Olivia Newton-John, why not? And I think if you do that and you take him off platform, the problem is, Will Howard still had 289 yards of passing because he had 6 other receivers with double-digit yardage, 6 other receivers with at least 21 yards of grabs in this game. Texas, a very good set of defensive backs, did what Penn State did. We see who your best playmaker is. And in these playoffs thus far, it's been 4. It's been Jeremiah Smith. So they rolled coverage his way. They frequently doubled him up. They were very physical with him. But what ended up happening? Carnell Tate had 87 yards. Travion Henderson out of the backfield had 75. Because if you're going to double up, if you're going to roll coverage 2 and double up Jeremiah Smith, you know what I'm telling that guy? Hey, every pass play or every run play, I want you to run a 9 route. I want you to run through the back of the end zone. I want you to run so fast, you put a Wile E. Coyote body-shaped hole into the wall behind the end zone. Just go. Because what's going to happen is when that X takes off on the 9, a couple of O's are going to go with him. And what does that mean? Remember, the offensive strategy for any football team is what? Design a play where you end up with more dudes at a spot, then they got dudes. It really is that simple. You can be as complicated as you want within that system, but at the end of the day, the goal is to draw up a play where you are able to create a flow to the defense where you got more dudes in a spot than they got dudes on any given snap. And so what I think Ohio State was doing was they were waiting till the coverage rolled over to Jeremiah Smith, and they said, if you see two, go. If you see two, take off. And whenever he saw two and took off, what happens? Two defenders would go with him, and now there's a spot where at the maximum, they would have one defender rolled over. So what do I need in that spot? If they got one defender in a spot, I just need to get two guys out there. The guy with the ball and a guy blocking for him. And Ohio State did that. Or what I can do is have him vacate an area running a 9. They're going to roll probably more often than not one defender into that zone. So what do? I run 2 wide receivers, 2 pass catchers into that zone. Hey, Jeremiah, you run the 9. And then I'm going to send Emeka Egbuka and Travion Henderson on the flat, right? I'll send Egbuka in a crossing route. I'll send out of the backfield Henderson on a little wheel route. Now I got 2 guys running 2 routes in the same area with, let's say, 7 yards between them and one defender out there. He's got to make a decision. Which one of these 2 guys are you taking? And if you're going to take the big guy, I'll hit the little guy. And if you're going to take the little guy, I'll take the big guy. Real simple. Get more dudes than they got dudes to a spot on the football. The opposite is true for Notre Dame. Get more dudes to where you think the ball is going, then they bring dudes to that location. And there is one primary defensive difference. It is at a wide receiver. You got to be able to remove him from the play. If you got one dude on a wide receiver, you better be sure that your one dude is just a better player than their one dude. Ain't many guys better than Jeremiah Smith. That guy's a freshman, by the way. Guy's a freshman. The Buckeye fans are real mad Lenore Sellers took that freshman of the year. This dude had, 1,700 yards as a freshman? We talked about him as if he was a revelation in the playoffs. He's been pretty good all year long. Pretty good.
He has. But Lenore Sellers is very good, by the way, and also quarterback.
I think that when it comes to Notre Dame, the other side of the equation for me is if you're going to play that press, which I think you do. I think you play the press early and we find out if Will Howard's got it or not. If you are going to play the press on the outside, what becomes the key to this game? You better get to Will Howard, right? Because the press, a press man on the outside can work, but it can't work forever. Once the wide receiver is able to get down the football field and those hands have got to come off, or you risk it being a PI or a defensive holding, now all of a sudden that wide receiver is making bleep up. And that is where, if that wide receiver and that quarterback are on the same page, the quarterback, and this is something that, if you go watch the great quarterback wide receiver duos in history, what you'll see is that a lot of their connections aren't diagrammed on a play sheet. A lot of their connections are the quarterback recognizes that if the wide receiver gets to this spot in this route, he knows where that wide receiver is going to break his route based on where the DB is. If the DB shades off to the outside, he's cutting a 9. If he shades to the outside but underneath, he's cutting a 7. If he plays to the outside but over the top, he's going to just run a comeback route. If he plays to the inside, depending on where he's at, he's either going to run a comeback on the outside, a flat out, or a streak or a go. You get on that same page and you're good. And I will say, I do think, at least it shows up in the stat sheet, that Will Howard has indeed reached a separate level, a new level of chemistry with the Buckeye pass catchers that has paid off for them. So if I'm Notre Dame and I'm going to play that press, and again, dance with the girl that brought you. If you're going to do that, you also have to make sure that you are getting back to Will Howard and rushing him. If you are going to play that press man and you can't rush the quarterback, I'm not saying rush as in like send guys. I'm talking rushes in. Make him start to get jittery in the pocket while he waits for wide receivers to beat their man coverages. If you can't rush him, you're going to have to flip to a zone and figure something out. The question mark is, does Notre Dame have the dogs to beat an Ohio State offensive line that Lonzo is mostly as healthy as it's been since week one? Because you guys have had a lot of rotations in and out with injuries and whatnot.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but I think this present offensive line has played together for a little bit. Also, with the press thing, referees come into play. How tight are they going to call this game?
For sure.
We don't know.
For sure. And that is, again, that's one of those
things. If
things.
they start calling, holding and pass interference a bunch, then they're going to be forced to back off.
We had Swamp Rabbit coach Kyle Mountain on the show a couple of weeks ago for the first time, made his debut. And we were talking about when you are developing players, right? So this level of professional hockey, like the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, there's two goals. One is win, two is develop players to send up the chain, right? Send up guys to the Ontario Reign, then send up guys to the LA Kings. That's the job. And so I asked him a couple of weeks ago, we've heard the expression many times that the most important ability is availability. If you're not available, it doesn't matter how good you are. So I brought that up, but I said, Coach, what other abilities do you consider important? Durability, adaptability, availability, coachability. What do you consider? And one of the things that Kyle Mountain said was it's adaptability. Massively important. The ability to say, all right, they have drawn up this game to prevent us from doing this. How do we adapt to that? Is it adapt as in just fight through it and do it faster? Is it adapt as in we can switch everything we've been doing? Adaptability matters. And so for me, Zoe, you are absolutely correct. If you are going to play primarily 60-ish% press man coverage on the outside and have your DBs and hand fights with wide receivers, if the referees are going, hey, we're going to let the boys play. We're going to let them play. We ain't going to call it unless it is a direct impact on the play, a direct impact on the catchability of the football. We're going to let the boys play. Now, if I'm Notre Dame, I feel a lot better, right? Now I'm going, I want you to bust his ass. The minute the football is snapped, I want you up in his jersey. Versus if the referees get really pass happy out of the gate, really flag happy out of the gate, if they're looking and they're going, yo, you got 5 yards and he touched him after 5.5, that's an auto PI. Now, all of a sudden, if I'm Notre Dame, I might go, this ain't going to work.
Yeah, I wonder as a coach, how quickly do you abandon that when you see how the referees are calling the game?
If it's me, here's the reality. If you're playing it well, and I don't mean in terms of the scheming, I mean in terms of the actual execution, the actual DB actually covering the actual wide receiver. Theoretically, like anything in football, if you're doing it well, you're doing it without fouling. If you're doing it well, you're doing it without drawing a flag. This is where that human environment of officiating comes in, because it may be automatic and they may be doing it all year without flags, and then you get one referee who was a wide receiver in high school who blew his knee out. Now he's disgruntled and he's always going to cover up for his boys at the X spot. Now all of a sudden, maybe that's different. I'll tell you this. If I am Marcus Freeman, if I am Notre Dame, I am bringing the defensive strategy that I have brought with me all the way to the national championship. I am not getting out of that at all unless Will Howard starts to whoop me up. If we get to the end of the first quarter and Will Howard's at 115, 120 passing yards, now I'm going, all right, boys, what we did ain't working. We've been dancing with the girl that brought us here, but she's over flirting with the quarterback. We got to find somebody new. We got to find something else. And maybe I'm playing a man zone. Maybe I'm having guys step up and cover the X and the Y wide receiver in man, but just those two guys. I'm still dropping 2 to the cover 2 to present to make sure Jeremiah Smith doesn't get me over the top. Egbuka doesn't get me underneath. I got X and Y covered up in a man. But I might take my 2 outside backers. I might roll to a 3-4, take my 2 outside backers and say, when the ball is snapped, your eyes go out to the wide receiver. If he vacates, if he takes off on a 9 route, if he takes on a go route, you float out there and you fill that zone so they can't beat us underneath. If they get into a short route competition with our defender, then you stay put and you go eyes to the backfield. I mean, there's ways to combat it. But this is one of those spots where I'd say this game, I think great one. And this is one of the things we haven't gotten to yet. And we will coming up in the show. We got a bunch of NFL in the next hour, but we'll come back to this. This is going to be very Marcus Freeman v. Ryan Day centric. This is going to be a lot of chess matches, I think. All right, we'll talk more about that later on in the show. We get the NFL in the next hour, including Rashad Beard at 8:40 to talk Panther draft and offseason with us. All that after Ryan Day of Sports Flashes, Lonzo.
Except I could beat Michigan. The South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off another top 20 team with a 76-68 road win over number 19 Alabama last night. Gamecocks' two leading scorers both came off the bench, with Joyce Edwards scoring 21 and 16 from Malaysia Fulwiley. The Gamecocks are now 17-1 and 5-0 in conference as they look to regain their number one overall national ranking. Tom Brady's potential return to the NFL isn't happening, according to his agent, Don Yee, who represents Brady, responded to questions about Brady acting as owner-player for the Raiders, saying Brady intends to stay in the box with Fox Sports for the length of his 10-year contract. Tune in tomorrow at 4:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Chattanooga Mocs. It's Furman versus Chattanooga right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, upstate. Wait, there's an Otis Boulevard? Where the heck is Otis Boulevard? I want to drive on Otis Boulevard. Thank you, Stephen. It was all right.
Baconate.
You should always baconate when you can.
Oh, absolutely. If one can baconate, one should baconate. Yes, Kevin, we obviously are very big on graduation rates, class attendance, et cetera, et cetera. That's the type of hard-hitting coverage that brings the people.
I'll have to roar right into that one.
I just want to get to know you. Guess I didn't quite think it through. Girl. Fell in love with the thought of you. Now I'm choked up, face down.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
What up, Becky Black?
Win.
Yeah, buddy. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the third hour of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. How do, you lovely people? Great to be with you, Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo. Here on a Friday, gotta get down on Friday morning, rolling in. It is also Monday's show. It is also Monday's show because the 2024-2025 college football national championship game is a Monday. However, Lonzo and I will not be here on Monday. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
By the way, Cole and Diesel will not be here either.
Yeah, well, okay.
I mean,
so nobody's going to be here Monday.
Just trying to help the guys in the afternoon out.
No local shows on Monday.
They're Tolos will be very disappointed.
Very good, Lonzo. Look at you buying into the shtick, playing with the gimmick, keep it at kayfabe up in here.
It just sounds like something to do with your toenails, like some sort of fungus or something. I mean, that's just me. I'm weird.
No local shows on Monday, meaning that we are breaking down the national championship game today. I have given my prediction and projection. I am taking the Buckeyes. Give it to me in a close one, though. I played with the idea of the cover. The more I think about it, the more 8 feels like a real big number, right? Like 8 points feels like a real, but does that feel like a big number to you? Feels like I know it does for Lonzo because he's the most pessimistic Buckeye fan in creation. 8 points feels like a lot of points.
It does, but I think first couple series are going to probably decide the entire game. Who's the most nervous?
I don't disagree with that, and a part of the reason that I don't disagree with that, great one, is because in Denton Day of SiriusXM's College Football Overtime, who joined us on Wednesday, I'm actually going to be posting that interview for those of you that missed it coming up later on today. Denton Day talked about it. We kind of had a similar conversation, and he basically said what I said, which is Ohio State jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead. This game's over. This game's over. Notre Dame is not a team built to play from behind. They are not a team that is built to overcome a 14-point deficit because they have to reach into the bag and start throwing the ball. They have to start treating Riley Leonard solely as a pocket pass quarterback because Riley Leonard running for 3 yards and burning up 30, 45 seconds of the play clock is not going to do it for you. That'll get you in trouble. By the way, the line has moved to 8.5 points now. So if you are somebody inclined to put coin on this game, grab it now because the line is moving towards Ohio State at this point. And that next number is a magic number. Those magic numbers are 3, 7, 9 are the first 3 magic numbers. You want to grab it at 8.5 because if it bumps up to 9, now we got ourselves an interesting spot. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. What I do want to do here is get your audio blitz, the best audio we have heard since the last time we did the audio blitz, which was yesterday. Here's some of the sound that we have got. Let us start with this one. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He plays for the Detroit Lions. He's very good at football, by the way. He was doing a podcast on the football show and was asked, who are the worst NFL fans?
I've competed in stadiums all across the country. Which NFL team has the worst fans and why? That's a layup. That is a layup.
I want to think. All right, I'm going to give 2. I hate the Packers fans just because it's Green Bay. I play for Detroit, but I think some of the worst fans was the Falcons.
Really?
When we played them my rookie year, no one was there. Terrible. I'm like, yo.
Oh, so you're looking at it as far as support toward their team.
Right.
Okay.
Because I hate Green Bay. Their fans, I mean, they have good fans for the team, but I hate them.
Right.
But I don't know. Is there that much to do in Atlanta? I don't know. Because ain't nobody going to the game.
Game over, man. It's game over. Ooh, the Dirty Birds getting cooked by Amon-Ra St. Brown. He said, I played there one time as a rook, and nobody was there. And I got to tell you, there are things that even I will say that are very nice about Atlanta. I think Atlanta is excellent. as a city. I actually really like downtown Atlanta. I think that Arthur Blank deserves a lot of credit for making Mercedes-Benz it is probably the most fan-friendly stadium in the NFL, right? That's the spot that has concession stands that are realistic. If you want to take your cheering to an NFL game, the Falcons are the team to take them to, because you got their little $2 menu, like hot dogs and Cokes are $2. The same bill in Atlanta that I could feed a family of 4 on for like $30 is costing me $120 in New Orleans. So they get credit for that. They also do not get credit because nobody goes. He's not wrong. Now, it picked up a little bit this year because the Falcons looked earlier in the year like they had a legitimate chance of winning the division. I mean, technically they did. They still could have won the division in that final week. They needed a little help from New Orleans, who fell apart late in that game. And then even with that, it wouldn't have mattered because Atlanta lost to Carolina to wrap up the year and hit the season over win total for the Carolina Panthers. Like the knower of ball said they would. You're welcome. I appreciate Amon-Ra St. Brown because, Zoe, I don't know about you, but when someone asked the question of me, what NFL fans do you dislike the most? He went with Falcons fans because they don't show up and support the boys. I go Eagles fans because they're gross and dirty and nasty buttholes that are proud of it. Sorry, James. Love you, buddy. Like, they're proud of that. Like, that's the thing. I was on, we told you the story yesterday about our boy Big Dom, head of security for the Eagles, who went and found a fan who was being very crass with a young lady in attendance at the Packers-Eagles game wearing Packers gear, up to calling her a, quote, fat, stupid bleep. C word, by the way, not B word or F word. The C word, which I think might be like the worst one to call somebody. By the way, that fan has come out and said that that video only told one side of the story, that those two fans had been provoking him throughout the game. I'm like, bro, you were like 4 seats over. No, they didn't. You were a butthole and you got caught in 4K being one. Shut up, take the punishment, man. That's how it goes. Anyway, point here is,
what could they possibly have said to that guy to get him to respond with that?
nothing. They didn't. He's a liar. He's a liar. But when I went and I was looking at that story yesterday, it was on one of the, I think, Instagram reels of one of the big national outlets that was explaining his apology or lack thereof. And it was filled to the brim with Eagles fans that were up in there going, if you don't like it, don't come to the game. It's like, no, that's not how that goes as like at all. Let's get to this one. I told you about this one earlier. And this may actually spur a deeper conversation that we may have to carry on, but I'll play it for you anyway. Mike McClure is a host on CBS Sportsline. It's just kind of like a general sports pod. They get anything and everything. He said he can fix the fact that the first round of the NFL playoffs wasn't that fun.
Get rid of the 7th seed. We've had it now for 5 years. Breach. Do you know how many times the 7th seed's won in those 5 years?
Not many.
Once.
Ooh.
One time the 7th seed's won in 5 years. That's 10 games. They've won one of them. It was the Packers last year against the Cowboys, and they didn't win the next round. 7th seed was shoehorned in from a pure money draw perspective. It's made Week 18 less interesting because fewer teams are on the precipice. They wouldn't have been playoff teams the last 2 years if we didn't have the 7th seed. There would be a completely different narrative around Jordan Love, the receivers, Matt LaFleur, if this team had missed the playoffs last year and missed the playoffs this year. We don't need more blowouts in the playoffs. It sours leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. The 2 seed has done enough, in my opinion, to get a bye. Let's go back to the normal wild card.
Any issues with that take, Zoe? For it, against it, apathetic towards it, don't care?
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of that.
Oh, I agree with that.
So I mean, it's complaining over something that will never change. If they do anything, they'll add to, they will not take away.
I actually agree with him. I think that would be the right. I agree with you in that they're absolutely not gonna. If anything, Zoe's correct in that they will expand the playoffs. But I don't think you need to do that either, because as it was just pointed out, how many 7 seeds in the 5 years that we've been in this format, how many 7 seeds have gotten out of the first round? 1. Last year's Green Bay team who went down to Dallas and beat the Cowboys. And then Green Bay got absolutely punked next week. So not only has only one team gotten out of the first round as the 7 seed, on top of that, one team got out as the 7 seed. They went to a 1 seed and they got blown out. One of the things that I have pointed out, even as somebody who is good with college football playoff expansion, is that I think I've landed on 12's the number. I don't think we need to expand any further. We can have a conversation about how we award the 4 buys. Do we award it based on conference championships as we did it this year? Or do we award it based on the top 4 ranked teams with the understanding that winning a conference championship will likely help elevate you up? I mean, we can keep the same format, right? The top 5 conference champions move on no matter which 5 they are. But the top 4 ranked teams as a reward for strength of schedule, playing in a tougher conference, yada, yada, yada. The top 4 teams get the 4 buys. We can talk about whatever you want. But I think 12 is the right number. Because I don't feel like, and I know South Carolina fans and Ole Miss fans and Alabama fans are going to argue with me here. But I don't think I looked at anybody from 13 down and went, yeah, that's a national championship contender. South Carolina was probably the best argument, right? Probably the best argument. Alabama would have been, but they went to Oklahoma and scored 3 points against an Oklahoma team that was barely over 500. So, no. The NFL, I kind of feel the same way. Lonzo, we talked about this earlier in the week when we were kind of doing a look at the NFL playoff bracket. In this bracket, how many teams do you truly believe are genuinely Super Bowl caliber? There's 3 in the AFC, Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City. How many do we have on the NFC side?
Detroit. Probably the Rams.
I agree with the Rams. And I will
You're going to say Washington. And
No, I'm not. I don't think Washington is Super Bowl caliber. The only way that they would get one is Jaden Daniels goes on one of the most historic rookie runs we've ever seen. And it is something that you and I, in 50 years, when we're doing a fake radio show in our retirement home together and drooling on ourselves, are going, you remember when Jaden Daniels back in 2004 went on a run? It would be a historic thing. I love Jaden Daniels. I love this Commanders team. They're fun to me.
You're welcome to come and join me when I'm doing radio at the Villages because
Hell yeah, Villages sounds awesome. You kidding me? Sounds awesome.
You'll be back in Florida. I will already be, reigning supreme by the time you get down there.
You know how many golf courses they got down there?
Quite a bit.
And when you get old, that's like all you're supposed to do, right?
Or just drive around golf carts.
It's true. By the way, before anybody hits me with a hot take on the text line, the whole STD capital of Florida thing is a myth at the Villages. I mean, they do have it for sure, but it's a myth.
They have those everywhere, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of studies that say that's untrue. Although they probably are pretty busy there.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. They're still doing the old unskinny bop, 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 bop. They're just I'm sure it's a lot less active. You know what I mean? There's a lot more shall we say laying around, I think. Anyway.
I think entirely too specific there.
I am very good with getting rid of the 7 seed for the same reason that I think we're at the right number for the college football playoffs. I don't think adding 4 more helps. Would South Carolina have knocked off Oregon? Because that's likely who they would have played, right? Or somebody in that department. Would South Carolina have defeated Penn State? Would South Carolina have defeated who else was up there? Right? Any of those teams in that top 4. And to me, the answer is, look, I'm very proud of the South Carolina team and what they accomplished this year. It's one of the better South Carolina teams, certainly since I've been here, but maybe in a very long while. No, I don't think you were beating any of those. I don't think. That's why we play it on the field. But would you have beat 4 of them in a row?
All right. They would have beat Clemson.
Sure.
Because they already did that.
But Clemson was a 12 seed. South Carolina would have been lower than that, meaning that they would have been Clemson as would have gone in.
Name 4 teams. I'm just saying 4 teams in the 12 that they could have beat. They could have beat SMU.
I mean, yeah.
Transitive.
Yeah. Okay, I'll allow it.
Yeah, Clemson beat SMU. South Carolina beat.
But I do want to point out that so far on the list of teams South Carolina can beat, you have now given me numbers 11 and 12.
I think they could
out of 12.
I think they could have beat Indiana.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that, let's screw that. I think they can beat. I'd say they would beat Clemson because they did. I'd say they would beat SMU because they beat Clemson, who then turned around and beat SMU. I honestly would say it's a ball game against Indiana. I would say above that, I don't know who they beat.
I forget. South Carolina played Texas this year, didn't they?
No, they played A&M.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So all that being said, you lost to Ole Miss by 50, right? But everybody gets their game, like Alabama scoring 3 on the road at Oklahoma. But that's what kept you out. Blah, blah, blah. The point here is 12's the right number. 12's the right number. I don't think there's ever been or would ever be a team that goes into the playoffs ranked 13, 14, 15, or 16. That's a natty threat. Just like in the NFL, I don't think there has ever or will ever be a 7 seed that is a genuine Super Bowl threat. There may be a 7 seed every now and then, like Green Bay last year, that can go beat a 2 seed because upsets happen. Welcome to sports. If they didn't, it would be really boring. They maybe could go get a 2 seed here and there. I don't think there's ever going to be a 7 seed that's going to be the 2 seed and then a 1 seed and then what? A 4 or 5 seed and beat all 3 back to back to back to get to a dance. I don't think it's happening. And I say that because we've had the 7 seed for 5 years and they are combined 1 and all the rest of them. So I think you can dump the 7 seed. Let's go back to 2 buys like we used to. And by the way, you know what else I like that? How many of those week 18 games sucked because teams that used to be playing for a bye didn't play? What's the matter? We're locked in. We can't move. What's the point? I think it would make the last week of the regular season go back to entertaining instead of a snore fest like it was this year. All right, just some thoughts. We got more. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Does Greenville still have hockey and why?
No. Don't.
Yes.
No. He's
Okay. Fine by me.
he's making fun.
I know he is. But I like that question. All right, give me 5 seconds.
Pillows.
I'm a Saints fan. When it started.
No, I thought you spelled growl.
Do what? Oh. I said back in the beginning of the season that I thought Jaden Daniels was going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I think that dude is a generational quarterback. I said he is the quarterback I would have drafted over Caleb Williams. I said he's the quarterback that I would have rolled with into the season. I said he is one of the I would have said Jaden Daniels, or I did say, is the only rookie quarterback that I would have made a week one starter in his rookie year. I wouldn't have done it with Bo Nix. I wouldn't have done it with Drake May. I wouldn't have done it with Caleb Williams. He's the only one. Do you know who else is a big Jaden Daniels guy?
He's been awesome. He and Kingsbury, once again, kind of an early connection. Sometimes it can take a minute for a quarterback and a coordinator to get on the same page. I think Washington was very adamant about drafting Jaden Daniels. You know, Adam Peters used to be in Denver. I could just tell early on that is who they wanted. That's who they coveted. They got him. And you can just tell Jaden and Cliff kind of hit the ground running. I think the system just fit Jaden. You could tell he picked it up fast. He was playing fast. You know, as a quarterback, Kevin, playing fast, not having to think about, okay, where is my second? I remember my rookie year, like I was just praying that the first read was going to be open because I wasn't sure where the second and third reads were. And that's a bad feeling as a quarterback. You can tell Jaden just, I mean, he's got it. He knows it. And that's a credit to Kingsbury for creating a system that works for the quarterback. It's a credit to Jaden for studying and picking it up. And he is fun to watch. He's just as kind of calm and collected in the fourth quarter as he is in pregame warmups. And that's a great quality for a quarterback, especially a rookie.
Could not agree more.
Who was that?
That, of course, is the second most well-known Manning brother, Peyton. That is Painting Manning, Debating Manning.
Cooper's brother.
Yes, that is Cooper's brother, Peyton. That is 100% correct. I like that take because everything he said is true. It was all the exact reason that I thought this dude was going to be a stud before we started. I don't know if I've mentioned it or not that I had him picked as my rookie of the year before the season started because I know ball and whatnot. Yeah, so I like that. I like that Peyton's on board with my pick, and that's the reason that I look at this game very much, this Washington-Philadelphia game, why I very much look at this game as a potential upset. I look at this game as a potential upset because of everything Peyton just said about Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has, I think, more of a look of an experienced, successful NFL quarterback than a lot of successful NFL quarterbacks. Like right now, would it be fair of me, Great One, if we were power ranking quarterbacks? I think right now we would all agree that the top three, the A-list, the A tier, the top tier, whatever you want to call it. I think we would all agree the top tier is Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson, right? Like those three are the top three quarterbacks in the league.
No, it's Mahomes, Jackson, and Allen.
Whatever order you want to put them in. I think that's tier A. If we go down to tier B of quarterbacks, Goff, Stafford, and I put Jaden Daniels in that group. There's probably a few more.
Sample size too small.
For Jaden Daniels, right now today, would you take Jaden Daniels or, hell, would you take Jaden Daniels or Sam Darnold to quarterback your team this weekend in the playoffs? I'd take Jaden Daniels, to be honest with you. After what we saw the last 2 weeks, I'd take Jaden Daniels. over a guy that was a front runner for the MVP back in week 9 in Sam Darnold. I would take Jaden Daniels over Sam Darnold today.
Well, after this week, he'll be available for the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge. So,
Jaden Daniels?
yes.
I mean, again, I'm not saying Washington is going to win this game. I'm saying if they do, don't come in here on Monday and be, or Tuesday. We're off on Monday. Don't come in here on Tuesday and be like, holy crap, how did they do that? I've already told you how they're going to. Peyton Manning just told you how they're going to do it. How they're going to do it is they are going to ride a quarterback that looks like a wily veteran 18 games into his career, who went on the road and knocked off a divisional champion this weekend by not succumbing to the late game pressure. You know, again, a guy who has now won 5 consecutive games by leading some type of game-winning drive, one that resulted in a tutty, one that resulted in a game-winning walk-off field goal. 5 consecutive games, Jaden Daniels has answered the bell and been a dog. The point that I'm making here is, in what world is Jaden Daniels not ready? There's not one. There's not. The dude, as Peyton just pointed out, and I think accurately and correctly, the dude looks like a guy who has been doing it for a very long time. He got on the page with Cliff Kingsbury. He has figured out this offense in a hurry. It's not like the scene is too big for him. It's not like he's out of place. He looks like a dude who understands what is happening and why. And I love that. I've been told like 2 or 3 different times at this point. Oh, Texter said Joe Burrow is a. I'd put Joe Burrow up there. So let's go Allen Mahomes, Jackson, and Burrow. I think that's abundantly fair.
I think you were just thinking about playoffs and
yeah, I think I was sorry.
Burrow not in playoffs this year.
I was thinking about active, but you're right. Joe Burrow goes in that group for sure. Joe Burrow threatened a 5,000-yard year this year. I think he goes in that group. The point that I'm making here is when we talk about Jaden Daniels, who this kid is, what this kid's doing, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it has settled in yet to a lot of people. Just genuinely how impressive what this guy is doing is. I don't think people get it yet. I don't think people are understanding what this cat has accomplished so early in a very young career. It's beyond impressive at this point. So, and again, maybe it's just me. I have been accused a couple of times of, sniffing my own farts because I picked Jaden Daniels to be the OROTY. I don't think I am. I think this guy can absolutely win. I think this guy can absolutely win in this game, these playoffs, but this game. I don't think the Commanders as a whole are Super Bowl ready yet, but they ain't the worst pick to get in. Who's more ready for the Super Bowl today? And I'm talking including all the context of the game. I'm talking injured players. I'm talking scenarios. I'm talking potential matchups in these playoffs right now. If I gave you $100, Lonzo, and I said you have to bet this on either the Commanders or the Texans to make it to the Super Bowl, easy pick on the Commanders, right? Easy pick on the Commanders.
First of all, we know I don't bet well. I lose quite a bit. And second of all, I would bet with my heart, and my heart would go with the Texans.
To beat the Chiefs and then the winner of the
You said
Bills
I had to pick between those two teams.
Yes.
I would.
With all things considered, with the roster the way it is today, including injuries and with the matchups they have, which is Texans have to beat the Chiefs and then the winner of Bills Ravens versus the Commanders who have to beat the Eagles on the road and then the winner of Detroit they have to beat Detroit on the road and then the winner of Eagles whatever the other team is.
Your scenarios never take into account my fandom, which just goes above everything.
Well, because our job is to take that cap off.
So maybe your job.
Okay, well then I'll say Commanders easy bet.
My job is open, not because I'm getting fired, but because because it's ever evolving and there's no set rules to it. So I mean,
the answer to that question, if I give you $100 and say you got to bet it on either the Commanders or the Texans to get to the Super Bowl, the easy answer is the Commanders.
You set up scenarios so it makes you right, and I really have trouble doing that.
I don't have to set up scenarios to be right. I just am. I
Okay.
just do that.
All right.
Right?
But
It's
realistically,
like saying you keep setting up scenarios to breathe oxygen. No, I don't. I just do it. It's just a reflex.
realistically, neither one of those teams are probably making it past this weekend. I know you think Washington's going to win. I don't. So
again, I have yet to say will win. I have said absolutely can. Absolutely should not be written off, is what I've said. Absolutely have the upset alert on in Detroit. Absolutely have the upset alert on. Because Detroit is a team, as we have talked about a number of times, Detroit is a team with their defense banged up. And we pointed this out, and you yourself said that's a bit surprising. Detroit is a team that is giving up 30 points frequently down the stretch. Now, you can make the argument, and I think it's fair, you can make the argument that maybe Detroit, because of how banged up they were, eased up on the throttle a little bit, saved a little bit of gas. But let's not forget that this team was playing for the division and the 1 seed in week 18. Right? It's not like Kansas City, who cleared that hurdle in week 16 and were able to again pull off a little bit down the stretch. This is a team that was playing for their division, was playing for the 1 seed in the final week of the season, and still were giving up 31s. Now, they didn't to the Vikings, but I think we learned the very next week when the Rams and the Vikings played and the Rams devastated them, that I honestly, respectfully to the Detroit Lions, I think that result of Detroit, Minnesota was more about Minnesota's step back than it was about Detroit overcoming the adversity in the injuries and all that. Maybe it's just me. All right, we'll talk more Super Bowl coming up. We'll get Rashad Beard's thoughts on this round of the playoffs, but more importantly, we'll talk with Rashad about what he thinks the Carolina Panther offseason and draft looks like when we come back. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is up next here on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stepping away for just a minute to get Rashad up in here. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. The Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show rolls on. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Spectacular to have you on a Friday / also kind of Monday show. Off on Monday to celebrate the life of the esteemed Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We will be back on Tuesday. And, of course, at that point, we will have a national championship in the landscape of college football. And we will have our Final Four in the National Football League with conference championship game weekend just hours away. One team that will not be participating in conference championship weekend is the Carolina Panthers. Don't worry. Neither is my team. It's okay. We're all looking for better times.
My team is.
Nobody asked you, did we? We didn't ask you. I didn't ask you for your participation there, did I? Joining us now on the radio program, ordinarily joins us on Thursdays, but had to fly across to the other side of the globe to participate in some business activities that we can't talk about here on the show. The host of the Panther Nation podcast, and with an all-new camera angle we working with today, Rashad Beard. Are we up in the game a little bit, or
You notice the details. I like that. You're paying attention. I like it. I like it. Yeah. Just trying a little closer angle. You know what I mean? Get a little more personal. But yeah,
I like it. I like it. But you got a dope ass backdrop with some merch back there, and you kind of cut it all out, man.
I know. I'm just trying some things, man. Just trying it out. We'll see. I may go back. We may revert. You never know.
I respect it. I mean, it's a good look. It's a good look. You got a good angle. You got that old MySpace angle working for you right now.
Listen, this is a smile showcase.
Oh, I agree.
It's what it is. See, there it is.
I agree.
It's a smile showcase.
Look, not to make it weird, but I get a text like every 2-3 Thursdays from my mom that's like, I just love seeing Rashad smile so much. And I'm like, all right, shut up, Mom. Nobody asked you. So it's a good vibe. I'm just saying, man, you got helmets, you got cleats, you got merch, you got posters, you got signs, you got all that, and it's just gone.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. I'll just we'll collect the feedback and we'll see how it goes, and then we may zoom it back out. But we'll see how it goes.
I dig it. All right, let's talk a little football. I did not get a chance last night, unfortunately, Rashad. I saw you go live last night. Didn't get a chance to chime in. I know you guys have been kind of dialing in on the draft stuff, and I do want to talk about some of the other offseason aspects we got to get to, but. You guys got your pick shaped up already? You got your vibe ready to go already? We still got 3 months of the draft, pal.
Yeah, no, we are doing a lot. We had an NFC South roundtable last night, just kicking it with the NFC South homies, talking about how the Panthers did not finish in last place. I don't recall what team that was, but I know there's a team that did finish in last place, and that's something that came up on the show. We talked about how the Falcons underwhelmed. Kudos to the Bucks. Don't really have too many problems with them, but we talked about the Carolina Reaper. Shout out to Bryce Young. Got Dennis Allen up out of here.
Appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, I heard that's exactly what the Saints guy said on the pod. He was giving us thanks for getting Dennis Allen up out of here, and got Atlanta's defensive coordinator out of here. So just good stuff, man. We are shaping up for the draft. The draft is coming up. We're trying to see what the Panthers are, where the Panthers are going to go. We have a lot of needs on this roster, and so we're trying to see what's going to happen, and we got to see how free agency shapes up.
I did want to point out we had the same record, so I mean it's technically a tie.
No, technically it wasn't a tie. Technically we were in third place. If you want to be really technical, but I digress. Well, it is what it is.
What's the tiebreaker that puts you there?
I don't know.
Exactly, because you don't care. It's a tie. Rashad,
I don't know what it was, but I know if I look at the standings, I know I'm not at the bottom. I know that.
Rashad Beard joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So what are the thoughts? This is a team that you short up some spots. I've seen a bunch of places that are still talking about, and this is dumb as hell, just so we're clear, taking another crack at maybe BY, whatever, which is stupid and obnoxious. And anybody who says that the Panthers need to make a quarterback move, immediate unfollow, block, report as spam on the spot. But there are a lot of other positions that need to be shaped up based on what you've seen out of this class and your hierarchy of what needs need to be met first by this team. Are there any names that are jumping out at you this early?
As far as the draft or free agency?
Draft.
For draft wise, man, obviously we have a big need at edge rusher. If you have to rank the needs, that's at the top. So we're looking at, there's a bunch of, obviously Abdul Carter, if he's there, You would like to take him, but we're probably going to be out of range for that. You know, there's Malachi Starks. I know he's a safety. That's a need as well. Both of our safeties are free agents, Xavier Woods and Jordan Fuller. So we have a bunch of needs. I mean, you can go across the board. Mason Graham obviously could be in that range as an interior defensive lineman. That's who we could be looking at. But also underrated, and I talk about this all the time, and Dave absolutely hates it, but I think wide receiver needs to be in that list somewhere as well. So if Ted from Arizona is there, you got to consider it. I think he's very good. I think we cannot go wrong depending on how BPA is designed for the Carolina Panthers and how their board is shaped out. We're going to get a really good player, and I don't expect us to reach for a particular position. I think we're going to sit back and see how the draft falls and take the best player at that spot. So I'm not really pressed for it. We have plenty of needs to go around, and I'm not really pressed for one particular position.
Every year, Rashad Beard, we have the debate about BPA or best player at biggest position of need. To me, you guys are set up. This is the ultimate BPA draft. I mean, there's enough spots. This is the ultimate find the best dude and go get him. I don't think you need to move up. I don't think you need to spend resources. Not that you have a ton of resources to spend, but I don't need to. This to me is, look, wherever we land, whoever the best dude on the board is, that's the dude we're going to get. And this is the ultimate year for that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I 1000% agree. I wouldn't even mind a trade back if the guys that are gone where you could potentially take, and I'm like, I don't like the way this thing fell. There's multiple guys that you still want to take, potentially trade back, acquire more draft capital. The Panthers could use some more cracks, an opportunity to get some more talent. So we have 9 picks right now. Could we see that increase? Maybe, I don't know. But the way our salary cap is set up, I think we could potentially use some more draft picks. So I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm excited for it. Even guys like Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, that's another guy I would potentially take. You get him opposite of J.C. Horn, you're in a good spot. So I'm not pressed to take any particular position. Let's sit back and see how it comes to us.
Isn't it a nice feeling to be able to say, you know what, I don't know, I'm going to sit back and enjoy versus, oh no, I'm going to sit back and watch how we it up this year?
Yeah, you know what also is a nice feeling, not finishing last. That's a great feeling. Also is
what? Why are you this way?
You know what also is a nice feeling? Not have to worry about who our next head coach is going to be. It's a great feeling to not have to worry about the coach carousel. We've been in that thing for a long time. We circled the block a couple of times with the coaching carousel. So it's overall great feeling for the Carolina Panthers. I feel great about it. I couldn't describe. I haven't felt this way in a long time. So thank you for seconding that.
Hey man, congrats on your team getting a decision right for the first time in a decade, big dog. I'm gloat, pound that chest a little bit. I get it. Pound that chest a little bit. I get it.
Yeah.
Rashad Beard, for some reason, is joining the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate.
I'm enjoying this appearance more than
sure
other ones.
You are.
It's been amazing.
Oh God, here we go. All right, let's keep going. What do you think is the biggest advantage to change with having Dan Morgan run this along with Dave Canales versus all those head coaches you were just bragging about that have screwed it up for the past decade for you? What do you think the biggest advantage that Morgan and Canales bring to the table getting ready for the draft is?
Yeah, I think right now it's continuity, right? We haven't had that in a long, long, long time. And so now we have a plan that actually can be executed. When you have multiple coaches in the building, the situation changes, the needs change, the scheme changes. And so the type of personnel you bring in is going to change. That's why we've been in this cycle, this never ending cycle of not bringing in the talent. The talent doesn't fit the scheme. Now we have a scheme. We have a direction to go in, and we can sit back and add to that and watch it play out. That's the biggest advantage of having Dan Morgan and Canales on the same page, returning, even with Evero. Even if you don't like Evero as a defensive coordinator, we get a chance to see his scheme and more personnel be brought in to fit his scheme, and maybe things will turn around. So continuity is the biggest advantage I can point to right now.
You mentioned just a minute ago, to kind of backtrack, wide receiver. And honestly, I'm almost weirded out because I had this knee-jerk reaction of like, yo, what the hell, right? Like Coker, and then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, you guys probably still need to go find that true number one, right? Like that to me, it's wide receiver, Rashad. if there's a playmaker. I'm not talking about a guy you can come in and he could be a number 2. You got a number 2. A guy that can come in speed, you got a speedster. A guy that can come in and be a slot, assuming Thielen's going to run it back again, you got a slot. And I'm willing to trust Adam Thielen for one more year before the body breaks down. Wide receivers at the top, if there's a home run ball there.
Yeah, and I think if Ted is there at 8, I think you have to strongly consider it or invest some money into free agency. You know, T. Higgins is out there, Chris Godwin. There's some guys out there that potentially be added to this roster and take it to the next level. Bryce needs more weapons. If we're going to compete at a playoff level and not just, go out there and let's get a wild card. No, we want to compete in the playoffs. You have to get weapons. And so, yeah, Thielen is great, but he's also, like you said, aging. And so you have to consider what's going to happen after him. And so I think he needs time to develop. He potentially be a wide receiver 1? Maybe, but I think he's a high end 2, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think if you have the opportunity to land an elite caliber wide receiver, you have to try and do it to make that offense better, to make Bryce Young better, and it's going to do nothing but add to it. So again, it's a great feeling. We need to get another addition to that wide receiver room. I love Jalen Coker. Shout out to Jalen Coker, who I had a chance to sit down with this past on Wednesday. The interview should be coming out soon. Great kid, love him. Excited for his future. But if you can add a home run hitter, you gotta do it.
I completely agree. Now, the other wild card we got to throw in there is free agency. There's a lot of, you just mentioned a couple of them. T. Higgins to me is probably the most intriguing name out of that group, Rashad Beard, but y'all ain't going to be the only team that's in the books to try to get T. Higgins to come down. There's going to be some money thrown around. Do you think, and I you can feel how you want to feel about Dave Tepper's tenure up until the hiring of Morgan and Canales. He has, I think, finally listened to the T-shirts and taken that step back and allowed the football guys in the room to make the football decisions. Do you think this is a team that is willing to try to outbid some other squads to get T. Higgins, or do you think maybe they utilize free agency elsewhere, maybe open themselves up to better be equipped to take a wide receiver in the draft?
Yeah, there's a lot of needs. So I don't know that we're going to spend it all in one spot, but I do see this team being a little bit more aggressive. And I got to be honest with you, this place is starting to become a little bit more of a desirable place to be. You know what I mean? I think this Bryce Young and the way he closed the season out. Hey, you saw what Garrett Wilson tweeted the other day or a couple weeks ago about Bryce Young and his play. This place is going to start to be a desirable destination. So when you look like a guy like T. Higgins, yeah, he could potentially want to be here, and the price may not be as high. You know what I mean? But I do expect us to be in that market. They're going to go out there and try to add some talent here. I think now they're starting to see it. I think it's no longer time to sit back and, we're developing here, developing there. I think now next year is going to be a little bit more of an aggressive approach, and they're going to bring in some talent. So I expect us to be competitive for sure. I don't know if it's going to be T. I don't know if it's going to be Chris Godwin, but I do expect them to be competitive in the free agent market.
Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast, joining here on the show. How was that? And I know you gotta keep it under wraps until you drop the whole thing. I get it, but how was that interview with Jalen?
Oh, man, Jalen's such a good kid, man. He is a great individual, and we sat down, spoke to him for about 30 minutes, just breaking down his rookie season. It's kind of a continuation of the first interview we had with him shortly after he signed with the Carolina Panthers as a free agent. So we went through his entire rookie season, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, the food, everything we talked about. And he's a great kid, man. So I'm a big fan. You all know that. I spoke about Jalen Coker long before the national media, and he even touched the field. And so for him to go out there and kind of second all the things that we talked about and just be open to sit down with P&P, I'm very appreciative. He knows that. And we had a good time, man. Really good time.
Love to hear it. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. By the way, the tiebreaker was record in common games, in which y'all were 3-9 and we were 2-10.
Wow.
But we hung 41 on your asses. It's a tie.
Dude, let it go.
Technically, right? Yeah, technically, we're not last.
Your computer's running slower than your microphone, and I hope it stays that way, Rashad. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. Make sure you follow them on X at Panther Nation PC, but more importantly, get on over to the YouTube channel. They go live all the time, and I promise you, and I mean this as much hell as I give Rashad, I mean sincerely, I have not found a better channel at any point that does a better job of getting you prepped for the draft than the Panther Nation podcast. So make sure you follow them over on YouTube. My man, appreciate you as always, big dog.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, man. See you
Do it again next week. My guy, Rashad Beard, the Panther Nation podcast. You can follow them again on X at Panther Nation PC. You can also get at them over on YouTube. Make sure you are liked up and subscribed to their YouTube channel. They do a fantastic job. I wouldn't keep having them on if they did not.
I like the new angle for Rashad because he brought something at you that I don't know what it was.
I was never going to say this while he's on the stream, but like I'm infuriated because he's too handsome. It's infuriating to be on the screen next to that. He's just a handsome individual. I'm never going to say that to his face, but he's a handsome individual, and he makes me look bad by comparison.
That's what Cole's trying to go for when he brings the camera on, but it's just never going to happen. I mean, you know.
Texter said, let's see, Grandizer said, how come if Evero gets a head coaching job, why does Rashad not mention Dennis Allen as a possible DC for the Panthers? That's a great question. I will tell you right now, and I mean this as a Saints fan. If I could get Dennis Allen back as a defense coordinator, I would jump all over that. He was a stellar
After
DC.
all the mean things you said about that guy.
Sucks as a head coach. Excellent defensive coordinator. And I will tell you this, though. I don't think Evero's going anywhere. You know where I think we're going? To break after Alonzo reads his sports flash. Hashtag segue, nailed it.
Look at you. After all the adversity you just went through, able to come through in the end. Way to go. South Carolina women's basketball team knocked off another top 20 team with a 76-68 road win over number 19 Alabama last night. The Gamecocks' two leading scorers both came off the bench, with Joyce Edwards scoring 21 and 16 from Malaysia Fulwiley. The Gamecocks are now 17-1 and 5-0 in conference as they look to regain their number one overall national ranking. After the New Year's Eve attack on Bourbon Street, NFL and law enforcement officials say they are beefing up security ahead of the big game in New Orleans. More than 125,000 people are expected to descend upon the city on February 9th. The league and law enforcement did not specify what tactics will be employed. Good. I mean, just do it. Don't tell us. Tune in tomorrow, 4:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Chattanooga Mocs. Furman versus Chattanooga right here on your home. Furman Paladins basketball. The Fan, upstate.
Wait for it. Cheap shot. Get back. Almost a perfect German.
Nice.
Say right now, I tune in for every Mock Draft Monday that Rashad and Dave do. It's fantastic. I actually don't disagree with that. I mean, I think right now Jalen Coker has been fantastic. That was the one guy Rashad and I both agreed on preseason was Jalen Coker. Happy to do it. When I got here and I was looking for a Panthers guy, I stumbled on Rashad. It was in I don't want to say the early days of PMP, but it was the relatively early days of PMP, and brought him on. And I appreciate Rashad because his channel has gotten so big and so well known. I would have completely understood if he said, I don't have time to come by and do this anymore, but he has stuck with us the whole time, and we appreciate that.
I like hoops and hit.
Was that me? I don't have anything playing. That auto ad started playing on a website that has been open since the beginning of the interview with Rashad. That website has been open for literally coming up on 30 minutes, and it just played an auto ad. 30 minutes.
Still your fault. I mean,
30 minutes. That website's been open.
I get everything you're saying, but that wasn't me when it was me type of,
because I didn't touch anything.
Okay.
30 minutes.
Come on, James. Don't back off, dude. It's what you believe. It's what you believe. You're wrong, but be wrong with confidence. I know it's worse to be wrong with confidence because it probably hurts a little bit more when you just know something's a certain way and then you find out that you were wrong.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday.
Hour number 4 of the Rob Brown Show. I'm getting on the soapbox. Welcome back. Great to have you. Happy Friday. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. For those of you that heard just a second ago, also faint, distant electric guitar is a vibe. For those of you that heard just about coming out of that break when the promo was running, something else start playing over the top.
Well, see, I thought it was going to be something. I killed the music quickly. Thought this was going to be something profound, something.
It very is.
Earth-shaking.
It very is. While our promo was running, you probably heard another source of audio coming over it. And there's a reason for that. I have control of the sounds that come out of my computer and go over the air, which is why I can play. Well, now I can't because I don't. Now,
because I had to turn it down.
No, it's the right call.
Here, I turned it back up. There you go.
What are we doing?
Okay,
That's
I get
what
to
was
run my own
thinking
sound
like a minute ago.
Yeah, I get to run my own sound over here. And Lonzo, there's a slider on the board that he just leaves up because over the years of making those mistakes, Rob Brown has figured out just mute every website on the internet. Okay. Well, when we had Rashad Beard come on, because I knew we were going to be talking about the Carolina Panthers as far as their draft positioning, as far as their quest in free agency, as far as their offseason prepping for what we both think is going to be a better 2025. I went and pulled up a draft profile on a couple of players. I opened that webpage when Rashad was coming on to do the interview, which was at 8:38 a.m. 8:38 a.m. I left that site open during the break because I wanted to go back and read it. All right. There's a couple of players that I'm really interested in, and I wanted to go read that profile. That web page began playing an autoplay ad. This is not an exaggeration. 20 minutes after I opened it. I already believe that autoplay advertisements with volume, death penalty, capital punishment on the spot. Okay? That should be a capital crime.
It's a little harsh.
No, it's not. You know what's really harsh? When you are in a spot where you don't need...
Although you did make me look bad, because anytime you make those mistakes, that makes me look bad.
For sure.
I don't like that.
For sure. There are times and places where I have to use my laptop, but I need it to, not make noise. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's on me in that if I was if I was down at the Starbucks doing a little work, I would there's a button on the keyboard. I push it, it mutes the computer. I push it again, it unmutes it. And check, but in this situation, I have to have the sound on for the things that I need and want to play. Things like and I don't know what I'm doing, which is appropriate in this situation. That very appropriate in this spot right now. I need the ability to have sound, but not have a website autoplay an ad with volume 20 minutes after 20 minutes. You sat on an autoplay ad for 20. I don't do anything for 20 minutes. No, there's nothing I do for 20 minutes in any given day. Sleep. That's the only thing I do for 20 straight minutes. Nothing else. Snicker away, pervs. I don't do anything for 20 consecutive minutes. I'm done with everything after 20 minutes. This website sat on an autoplay ad with volume for 20 bleeping minutes. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. All right. Final hour of the show. Our text line poll question of the day is up. Who you got in Monday night's college football national championship game? Who do you got? I need you to text your answer to 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. And I want you to text one of two words. Text Buckeyes if you believe that the Ohio State Horse Chestnuts are going to win. Or text Irish if you believe that Touchdown Jesus is going to win. Text Irish or text Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Text Irish or text Buckeyes. Who do you have winning the 2024-25 college football national championship? I will tell you this, Lonzo. As we approach 100 votes on our poll this morning, Ohio State leads by 1. It is a damn near 50-50 split as of this hour of the show. Notre Dame was the early vote getter. All right. When we just opened the polls, Notre Dame took an early lead. In fact, at one point, 2/3 of the vote.
What are is it a herd of cats? Is it a pride of cats? What is it? I don't know what it is. When there are multiple cats.
I don't know. Scratch that. I got that backwards. The early poll getter was Ohio State. Ohio State had 2/3 of the votes in the first hour of the show. Now we approach 100 votes on the text line. And as we approach 100 votes on the text line, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish have now closed the gap. They do not lead. Ohio State does still lead right now, but it's by a single vote at this point. So shoot us your text at 844-326-3663. If you do not start your text with Irish or Buckeyes, it will not count. And I am going to tell you right now that I am, and this is confirmed, one lazy son of a... So I'm not going to go back and count all the votes that started their text with anything else. If you want your vote to count, you must text 844-326-3663 and start it with Irish or start it with Buckeyes.
Okay, according to the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, which is, sounds legit, despite being solitary, mother tigers are seen with their cubs. A group of tigers is called an ambush or a streak of tigers.
We've all learned something new today. So
ambush is probably more fitting.
For sure. They are tiger. I think are tigers ambush hunters? I don't know that actually. We're gonna learn.
They're like in trees and stuff. I think, you would have to be. I don't know.
We're gonna learn a lot about tigers after the show today, Lonzo. I'm just gonna go ahead and warn you of that right now. You're gonna know a lot by like 10:45.
As long as we're not learning about their fans, because I can already tell you everything about them.
By like 10:45 today, you're gonna know more about tigers than you ever have.
My proof is your poll.
You just think everyone who votes Notre Dame is a Clemson fan?
Yes.
By default.
Yes.
If you vote,
you ask me what I think. That's absolutely what I think. Is it the truth? I don't know, but that's what I think. That's what I believe.
Corn Chip text the show. He said Buckeyes, but I'm not happy making that pick. All caps from Corn Chip. Brian texts the show. He said he's going with the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Commanders. I'm not alone. Though I am picking upsets in both NFC games.
Don't let Rob convince you to go with a team that's not going to win.
Well, it's Rob and Peyton Manning, so that we're clear. And I feel like, and I could be wrong, I feel like old Peyton Manning knows a little bit about quarterbacking in the NFL. I could be wrong. I think he knows a thing or seven about how to
just because you have a 2-foot forehead does not mean that you're smarter than everybody else.
That's fair. But when it comes to talking football, again, probably going to take Peyton over most guys. Big Jaden Daniels fan.
Fairly knowledgeable, yes.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right. National championship game. Who you got? Text Buckeyes or text Irish to 844-326-3663. James said, wait, do we not text the old number anymore? Nope. So if you are sending a bunch of numbers to the bunch of texts to the old text numbers, please know that I have seen none of them since January 1st. I have not seen a single one of your texts. I want to see your text, but I have not seen your text since January 1st. The new number is 844-326-3663. If you want to get at us, I want your thoughts, I want your takes, and I want you to text either Irish or Buckeyes to 844-326-3663. Let's see who the upstate is picking in the Natty. So far, it is Ohio State in a 50-50 split. But we have gotten a fistful of votes since the start of the segment.
Ohio State in a 50-50 split because a 50-50 split is exactly even.
We've gotten more votes since I read the poll. It is exactly even.
Oh, okay.
As we have now crossed the 100 vote threshold, we have 104 votes in, and they are split 50-50 at 52 votes apiece.
Okay, so there is no one with an advantage. You made it sound like it's Ohio State. You said it's Ohio State in a 50-50 split.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it can't be.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
Just trying to help Steiner.
They got a 33.3% chance, but when you add in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, that goes down to 12.5%. Steiner math, baby. All right. So, keys to the game, as it would be. I have given you mine so far. I am going with Notre Dame, dance with the girl that brought you. All right? You know what's gotten you here. What's gotten you here is on defense, press coverage on the outside. What's gotten you here is on offense. Run, fast as you can. Look at them boys. They're the Irishman. I put myself in a real hole there. I tried my best. It didn't work out. I regret that.
It was valiant to the end, though.
Yeah, I fought, but sometimes you fight and you lose. I think if you are Notre Dame, you dance with the girl that brought you. You stick with that press man coverage on the outside about 60% of the plays. And I'll tell you what I think I'm playing for here. And this might be a mistake. This might be a screw up, Zoe. But I'm gonna see if I can I'm gonna see if I can turn Will Howard into regular season Will Howard. That's what I'm going to do. I think that's what gives me the best chance to win.
Have you looked at the stats for regular season Will Howard?
They're not bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, you make it sound like I mean, he was up in the top 5 in everything, I believe.
They're not bad, but do you agree that playoff Will Howard has been at a different level? Even from good Will Howard, playoff Will Howard right now is elevated.
I think the entire team is elevated. And in that happening, of course, Will Howard is also elevated.
I think Will Howard has been a different breed of cat in these playoffs, and him being a different breed of cat. And I do think there is a reason for it. I talked about this, I think, last week on the show after the win over Oregon, before the semifinal game. If you go look at the Buckeyes social media, right? There are places where you can go that have compiled all of the social media handles of everyone connected to the Buckeye football team. And most teams have this. You can go look and somebody has made a Twitter list where they have every player and coach so you can follow all of them at once. If you go look at the social media feed of everybody on that team, I'm talking coaches, I'm talking players. One of the things that you will see is everybody gassing up Will Howard. I think that after and this is not on him, so that we are clear, and I do think Lonzo and I agree on this. After the L to Michigan, a lot of people hung that on Will Howard. Oh, if he was a better quarterback, they'd have thrown. I don't think so. I think a lot of people hung that L to Michigan on Will Howard. And after that happened, and I will give Ryan Day credit for this above all else. And keep in mind, I am the dude who has been calling Buckeye fans all year dumber than hell for trying to get Ryan Day fired. Dumber than hell. How y'all feel about it? I don't know now. I think Ryan Day does one thing that is rivaled by very few other college football coaches. I think Kirby Smart's in this crew. I think Shane Beamer's in this crew. I think Dabo Swinney's in this crew, although it's a different vibe. It is still the same, of building a very cohesive, very gelled locker room. Zoe, I cannot recall a team or an issue on the Buckeyes team. You never see sideline scuffles. You never see guys chirping at each other. You never see on-field headbutting between Buckeyes. Ryan Day, I think, has done a wonderful job at building a very unique special culture at Ohio State. And I think that is mandatory for success in college football in 2025 and beyond. I think you've got to be able to build a locker room that is wildly cohesive. And that is tough to do in the NIL and transfer portal era, right? Where any given year, you could have a fistful of guys come out, you could have a fistful of guys go in. It's tough to do, but I think you still have to figure out a way to do it. I didn't say it's easy. I said it's got to get done. And I think Ryan Day has done a pretty good job of that. And I think the evidence of that is the fact that after that loss to Michigan, a lot of people, dumbly, incorrectly, hung that L on the hat of Will Howard, pardon me. And if you went and looked around the internet, my dude, every podcast that had a Buckeye player on it, they were defending Will Howard. Every tweet that the guys put out, it was defending. This team rallied around that quarterback, and I think it was a massive confidence boost. And now playoff Will Howard is going, you know what? If I go out there and I try to make a play and it goes sideways, I know even if I screw up, my guy's got my back. And he's playing loose. He's playing free. So if I'm Notre Dame, what's my goal? Rattle that guy. I got to take that away from him. I got to get that guy to go back to the dude he was in the middle of the season after the Oregon loss when things kind of slowed up a little bit. And the only way I'm doing that is getting to him early, throwing him off platform, making him throw into very tight man coverage. Let's rattle him early. If they can't get to him, they're cooked. The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
Oh, come
Step away for just a minute, guys. Stay right there for me, please. Well, they for sure are, and that's good for them because
But-
they are sneaking up on folks.
I would say Philly's kind of a forgotten team too, though, because there's so much hype around a bunch of the other stuff. You got to admit, I did not expect Philly to be in the playoffs this year. They were starting to drop off, and it looked like, okay, they're not.
Oh, for sure. Last year, they went from the best team in the league to having the worst collapse in the history of the NFL. This year, they went from a very mediocre team to having one of the best ends of the season, including getting dubs while Jalen Hurts was concussed.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of him, and I think that's part of it. I think he's
fine.
I think he's good. I just don't think he's ever been as great like some people make him out to be. Yeah, I'm sure someone got that number somewhere. You know, like when someone gets someone else's phone number, James. Maybe someone else ended up getting our text line somewhere, and they're getting nothing but politics and sports bombarding. Going, it's a Spanish music station somewhere. Going, why is this happening?
Know when to hold it and know when to fold it. Diesel, do you know when to hold it? There's times and places to hold it, and there's times and places definitely not to hold it.
Why does he start talking really fast at the end? I don't like his sped up voice. Some people's sped up voices are
Mine hilariously got deeper, but it's because when I was going fast, I would automatically drop it down like this just so I could get the words out faster.
yeah, but when you sped it up, because you could speed it up without losing tone, and it just
I didn't. I don't know why. I also think it's one of those things like in and I think everybody does this, but like when you are asked to do something in radio that you've never done before, I think most people have a tendency to do it the way that they've heard everybody else do it, right?
I have never in my nearly 30 years got to do that. I'm going to make a promo just so I can do it.
See what happens. The NFL's divisional round is this weekend. 4 National Football League games getting you set up for conference championship weekend. Let's get at it. Let's make some picks. We open tomorrow afternoon. This game at 4:30 in the afternoon when the number 4 seeded Houston Texans are led by their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, up to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, to take on Patrick Mahomes and his Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City knocked off the Texans back in week 16. The Texans tied for 4th in sacks this season. Very good pass rush for the Houston Texans. They got to Mahomes one time in that game. Ball game, dudes. Ball games. Mahomes is the quarterback. Him, Allen, Jackson. This is the one reason that of the big 4, even though obviously Joe Burrow has the passing yard numbers this year, I kind of trust Lamar, Josh Allen, and Mahomes a little bit more. And it's just because in a game in which a lot of teams dial in on getting to the quarterback, creating chaos, those 3 guys become dynamos when they are able to, when they have just even a little bit of room to get out wide and make something happen. Patrick Mahomes is the maybe the greatest improvisational quarterback in the history of the National Football League. So what can the Texans do? Lonzo, it's very simple. Run, 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 run. And then if the run game works, run it again. Joe Mixon has got to get going. The Texans are 7-3 when Mixon averages more than 4 yards per carry. They are 2 or 3 when he does not. The problem is Kansas City's defensive line is very good too, and Mixon's a guy that wants to run off guard and off tackle more than he wants to get to the end and get it around there. This is up in the air, but Chiefs to win, Chiefs to cover.
See, there's also this thing that's very frustrating, especially if you're a Chiefs fan, how they just let everybody stay in games. There are some games where they should be blowing people out and they don't, and the other team still appears to have a chance at the end. Who knows? Maybe they're doing that on purpose, making it more interesting. That always concerns me. And in the playoffs, one little mistake, boom, you're out. But if you're a Chiefs and you know you're going to win this and you are winning handily, what do you hold back that you don't show whoever the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore? Do you purposefully hold some stuff back?
I mean, again, I think it depends on if you are in a threat to lose the game, no. You just got to go win. You're at the point now where it is do or die. If Kansas City finds themselves at halftime up 27-3, then yeah. Chill.
Also, some starters haven't played in 3 weeks. I mean, so there could be some rust. I buy into that. And some teams, I don't on this one. It wasn't like the entire team took the time off for that last game that they played. A bunch of their starters still played.
Well, and I think the other thing that you have going for you in this spot is that over the past handful of years, the Chiefs have had more opportunities to learn how to handle the situation than other teams in the NFL. If there's one guy that I would say, hey, what do you do when you earn the bye 2 weeks out and you got some time to get ready for that? If there's one guy I want in charge of running that system, it's obviously Andy Reid.
Hey, you remember that receiving core, like near the middle of the season and near the beginning of the season? It's different now. They've got a bunch of players back that were injured at the end of the season. It's not like, guys coming off an injury. You're like, yeah, they're coming off an injury. they're not going to be able to participate. But when it's a guy like Hollywood Brown coming off an injury, you got guys like that coming back. They're getting better at this time of the year when a lot of people are getting worse.
Another place this game gets interesting. The Kansas City Chiefs were successful on third down conversions 48.5% of the time. Almost one out of every two third down conversions Kansas City converted. Here's the thing, though. The Texans had one of the best third down defenses in the league. They gave up conversions only 36% of the time. The Chiefs converted 7 of 13 tries against the Texans in week 16. They won that game 27-19. They'll need the same thing again. But this game may be won and lost on third downs. Maybe won and lost on third downs. All right, let's get one more in here. We'll do the other two games in the final segment of the show. Let's go with the other number one seeded game. This is the game that takes place Saturday evening, 8 p.m. on Fox. Commanders, the 6th seed, take a trip up to Detroit Rock City to take on the number 1 Lions. What can the Lions do here? Get back to running the ball. David Montgomery has been sitting out since the final 3 regular season games with an MCL injury. He said that he is confident in his knee and he would not play on it if he wasn't. That also means that you get to spell Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit, and that is spectacular. But here's my favorite stat for the Lions that comes into play. The Lions led the league in yak. Team full of yak daddies over there. 2,669 yak yards. That's yards after carry, for yards after catch, pardon me. For those of you who don't know that conversation, yak daddies are the Detroit Lions. 2,669 yards on a per reception basis of 6.7 yards in the regular season. But here's the fun thing. You know who the best yak daddy defense is in the NFL? The Washington Commanders. They gave up fewer yak yardage than any other team in the NFL. The Lions got almost 2,700 yards of yak yards this year. The Lions surrendered less than 1,600 yak yards. This is going to be a battle at the second level when Detroit has the ball. A lot of touchdowns from Amon-Ra St. Brown. A lot of touchdowns from J-Mo, who got a catch and then were able to make a move, be shifty, get down the field and make something happen. Washington has people covered up. You'll catch the ball, but you ain't going in there with it, which means that those first down tosses that are, 3 yards out to Jahmyr, 5 yards out to Montgomery and let them get up the field, Washington is better than anybody else at stopping that. So that's going to be a big one. J-Mo. Jameson Williams, is my wild card player in this game. This is the dude, because look, you know what the Commanders are going to do. They are going to do everything in their power to stop you from springing Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're going to have everything in their power. J-Mo Williams becomes the guy. Had 16 receptions of 20 or more yards this season, and Ben Johnson has been looking for him the last handful of games. I think they schemed to J-Mo Williams. The question mark is, are the Commanders ready for that? This game has the highest over-under mark in a playoff game since the Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl. That game had a over-under of 56. This game has an over-under of 55.5. This thing is going to be an absolute shootout. The X on the Detroit Lions side is Jameson Williams. The X factor on the Washington Commanders side. Lonzo, would you like to take a guess as to who the X factor is on the Commanders side for me? You want to take a stab at it?
I'm going to go with quarterback Jaden Daniels.
Gosh darn it. It's like you know ball. I'm going to go with this. If Jaden Daniels gets 100 yards rushing, that's how the Commanders win this game. Now, that is not to say I want Washington setting up a bunch of designed runs, because Detroit is a blitz-heavy team under Aaron Glenn. They're going to send extra dudes. Jaden Daniels, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best rookie I've seen in a very long time at handling pressure, at understanding the blitz, at setting his coverages, at reading and playing into the blitz and not getting himself in trouble. He's very good at it. What I'm not going to do is run a design run and take that improv with the legs out from underneath Jayden Daniels. That's not to say you don't draw up design runs for him. That's to say you use them very sparingly. What I want is for them to run pass plays for Jayden Daniels, and I want them to have a dedicated coverage or a dedicated blocking scheme. Pardon me. Look, we're block heavy on the left, JD. If you see a blitz coming, you tuck in behind that left tackle. If you see a blitz coming, I want you to know your escape clause is to the left. And I'm going to throw an extra blocker out there. Because if they are going to blitz, what does that mean they are doing? It means they are taking a second or third level defender out of the equation. And if they're going to take a second or third level guy out of the equation, I would love to get Jayden Daniels out there into that spot. If they can get him to 100 yards rushing in this game, that's how the Commanders will pull the upset. We'll see how it plays out. I do think it's going to be high scoring, though. I'm looking at like a 42-35 game one way or the other.
Who are you picking?
If you're going to make me go official, screw it. Let's go with the upset. Give me the Commanders on the road.
Okay, I'm going to go with Detroit.
You should. That's the right play. That's the right play. But I feel good about it. I feel good.
You feel really good if you're right.
Oh, dude. You think Tuesday? I may just play that Hail to the Commander song. Maybe I'll just play that commercial from when they changed the name of those dork-ass Commanders fans singing on the street outside the merch shop. I might just that might just be our only bumper song all day on Tuesday if I'm right. Back after this to talk about the Rams and the Eagles. We'll talk about the Ravens and the Bills next on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. Oh, I nailed that.
You did.
Oh!
So what do you think of David Harbour's Eric Frankenstein?
Is that who voices him?
Yes.
No crap. I didn't know that.
Yes.
I mean,
and the other thing is the voice actors supposedly have a good shot of being the live action versions of the characters. So
I love the chick that does the bride. I think she's fantastic. I think that character has to have like an iconic voice, and I think she has provided one. Anything Alan Tudyk does is perfect. Just everything he does is perfect. Is Alan Tudyk the Rob Paulson of our day?
I don't know. Maybe. I think
Steve the Pirate.
I think there's too much of, oh yeah, I know who that is.
See, I don't. And maybe I just because I'm unplugged from a lot of it, but like I found myself after a couple of episodes like scanning the wiki page to find out who was voice acting. And there were a few that I'm like, oh, I hear it now, like I get it now. Like I know the chick who's playing the bride has been in a bunch of stuff. I didn't know who she was.
Well, the other thing is Rick Flag Sr. is going to be in Superman and also big time in Peacemaker season 2. I really want to see that.
That's
because John Cena killed his kid. They referenced it in the first episode.
Yeah.
He's the guy who played Skull and Bones in Marvel.
Okay.
He was in the elevator scene with Captain America. So he was big time in on Winter Soldier because he was all over the place in that. In the end, Peacemaker was just following orders. Can you get past that? I don't think you can. We'll see. What do you think about the princess?
First off,
I love the accent. The accent is.
I love the
great.
accent.
Yes.
I'm interested in the character. The only thing I thought when they watched in the room, I was like, you had to dress her just like Princess Peach? You had to dress her just like Princess Peach?
I never noticed.
Just
But
like Princess Peach. Look, next time you see her dressed up, you'll be like, oh, yeah, she is.
I've heard that's pretty good, James.
Do what?
I was talking to James.
Last call for votes. You have about 3 more minutes to get your votes in. Who is the upstate? Who does the upstate believe is winning the college football national championship? You can text Buckeyes or you can text Irish to 844-326-3663. You can text Buckeyes or you can text Irish to 844-326-3663. You got just a couple more minutes to get your votes in. You got till 6 more minutes. You got till 9:45 to get your votes in. 844-326-3663. Text Buckeyes or text Irish. Who do you want to win the national championship? Who do you believe will win the college football national championship? Send your votes into 864-448-3772. Text either Buckeyes or Irish. And when that poll closes here in just about 6 minutes from now, we will tell you who you guys have selected as the winner. But let's get back to talking about the NFL's divisional round. We did the wild card round already. We move on to the divisional round this weekend. We have given you the first 2 games. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Zoe, we are both going with, on the Saturday games, the Kansas City Chiefs.
That would be correct.
And we are split on the other game. I have said, YOLO, give me the chance to look like a stinking genius. And don't worry, if I'm wrong, I'm not going to do that thing that so many other people do and come in here and go, guys, of course the Lions could have gone winning. Look, of course I was just being silly. Listen, if the Lions win this game, Kane's going to call in on Tuesday, and I'm going to have to hear it, all right? Kane, the Detroit fan, is going to give me hell on Tuesday. I'll have earned it. So this is not a freebie pick for me. Let's move on to the 2 games on Sunday. We start in the NFC up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of the worst fans in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles fans. They will be hosting the LA Rams. Here's interesting. The last time that these 2 teams got together, Lonzo, was all the way back in week number 12. In that game, the Eagles won 37-20. In that game, and this is fun, the Rams came into this game, by the way, 5-6. Remember, they had a real slow start to the season. Saquon Barkley, Lonzo, went 255 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's really good, Rob.
I'm good at math. That's a lot of rushing yards. In fact, I'm willing to describe that as the scientific word, a load of rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. That's back in week 12. Since then, the Rams have lost 1 game. It was to the Seahawks in week 18, a game that didn't matter. They beat the Saints next week. They beat the Bills the week after that. They beat the 49ers the week after that. They beat the Jets the week after that. They beat the Seahawks. And here's my fun part. After that loss to the Eagles, 37-20, they beat the Saints. They allowed just 2 touchdowns. They gave up 42 points to Josh Allen and the Bills, but they beat the Bills. The week after that, they gave up 6 to the 49ers. The week after that, they gave up 9 to the New York Jets. The week after that, they gave up 9 to the Arizona Cardinals. And the week after that, they did lose 30-25 to the Seahawks. But again, that game was at that point largely irrelevant. So, this team, unfortunately for Philly, I think, Lonzo, this team, the Eagles beat something into them. The Eagles changed this team. After that L to the Eagles, something changed about this LA Rams team. Defensively, they had 9 sacks last week. And keep in mind, before anybody goes, whoa, wait a minute, Rob, that was against a 14-3 football team. That was against a 14-3 football team that had a quarterback that 3 weeks before that game was like the third shortest odds to win the NFL's MVP. That was against a 14-3 football team that had a quarterback who was 1,000% going to be named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year award winner. And they beat him up. Now, I do want to point out, I think it's fair on the other side of the other side of the coin to point out the fact that the Eagles had 4 takeaways against the Packers last week. I would say, great one, 9 sacks and 4 takeaways, both really impressive. Both genuinely impressive. And I think there's something to be said about that. I don't know where to go with this. The Rams have been creating, ever since the loss to, again, hope you're taking notes, class, the Eagles. The Rams have been one of the best pressure-creating defenses in the NFL. They get in the second half, just in the second half of the season, if you eliminate the first half of the season, the Rams are in the top 4 in terms of pressure created on quarterbacks. Jared Verse has broken the hell out. Here's my question, Lonzo, and I'm glad we got here because you said something during the break. Sincere question. If the Rams are creating pressure on him like they did against Sam Darnold, do you trust Jalen Hurts to carry this Eagles team?
I do not.
I don't either. It feels to me like we could get into a spot where the Eagles have to rely on Saquon Barkley. Don't get me wrong. If I got to rely on anybody, Saquon Barkley is a hell of a pick to do it. But once again, what is the strength of the Rams? The defensive line and the linebackers, the DL and the LB. If they're going to lean on Saquon Barkley, cool. You're throwing a guy into the heart and soul of my defense. I'm going to take that. This is the game to me. I do not trust Jalen Hurts. I absolutely trust Matt Stafford. I do not trust Jalen Hurts. I do trust Sean McVay to make those adjustments. And here's where it comes down to the biggest variable in all of this. Great one. If you're asking me who I want to pick between Sean McVay on one side and Nick Sirianni on the other, if you say you're picking Nick Sirianni over Sean McVay, you are either an Eagles homer or you don't know ball, brother.
And Sean McVay is in playoff mode. Just watching him. He is ready to go. He'd play in 5 minutes if he could. He'd have his team out there and have them ready. The Rams just look different right now.
Something clicked when they got it handed to them by the Eagles in the regular season. Something clicked in this team. Cody Decker and I, before the playoffs even started, both said, watch out for the LA Rams. This feels like a dangerous team. And Sean McVay is the reason that it feels like a dangerous team. Give me, Lonzo, Rams in an upset 24-21 on the road.
I'm with you. I'm going with the Rams.
Let's go! And finally, the Ravens and the Bills. This one in Orchard Park. Temperature expected at kickoff to be about 8 degrees -3 with the wind chill. Bleep that. Have fun. I'll see you on TV, boys. Look, this is really interesting. The Ravens and the Bills, Lonzo, had the exact same point differential in the regular season. They were both plus 157 in terms of point differential. These are, I don't know what you would say. These are two evenly matched teams. I can be real elementary with this, Lonzo, and just say, which one of these two MVP candidate quarterbacks has a better game? Because that team's winning. That's how it feels to me.
I'm still going to get behind and go with Derrick Henry wins this game.
I think that's fair. I do think, like I said, I think because of how good Derrick Henry has been, and he has been excellent, let's be very clear, he is better than James Cook. Don't sleep on James Cook in this game. Don't sleep on James Cook to get wide, to get off tackle.
If Derrick Henry is doing what he does, James Cook ain't going to get a chance to play because then Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are coming from behind, and they're going to have to throw the ball more.
See, that is something that I can lean on if I don't trust one team or the other. I don't trust Notre Dame throwing the ball. I don't. I primarily throwing the ball. They can throw, but they got to use the run to set it up. Bro, if you make the Bills go 100% pass and Josh Allen can run the way he can run, the Bills and the Ravens are both built to play from ahead and behind.
We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, they have been so far. So I am going to go, I've gone back and forth on this, Lonzo. I am actually going to pick the Baltimore Ravens in this one. I think I love me some Josh Allen.
Wow.
Josh Allen. Look, I agree with your take on Derrick Henry for sure. I think Lamar Jackson can put up numbers that are very similar to Josh Allen. Similar enough that the edge you have with Derrick Henry over James Cook ends up being the edge you need in this game. I am going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Give them to me, Zoe. 35-28.
I don't think the scoring is going to be as high. I think it's going to be like in the teens because of how cold it is. But I'm definitely going Baltimore.
Well, I would feel that way if it was going to be snowy. It's not. If it is snowy, then yeah, I'll drop that.
I believe there. Last time you said there was 40% chance.
Later on in the evening, and apparently that is dropping just a little bit. Not to a no snow, but apparently the chance of precipitation has come down a little bit.
Probably because
I think it's just
so
going to be
cold.
blustery.
Probably because it's so cold.
When it's too cold for snow, it's too cold to be outside.
Okay.
Give me the Baltimore Ravens, 35-28.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that. And we've already picked Ohio State to win the national championship.
Correct.
Game,
so then we can do this.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I threw a curveball there. Threw a knuckleball.
When you said this, I looked at you to see what this was. That's my fault. I should have just known that this was this.
That's the sound of a knuckleball.
Is it? Yeah, but I'm not a baseball guy. All right, the first thing that's Xing is Costco.
Okay, I'm going to come to that, but Michael just texted the show. He said Jordan Love couldn't throw it into the ocean against the Eagles. Trust me, my wife is from Wisconsin, and it was not a fun time. Sorry about that, Michael. Sorry, yeah. There's the benefit of having a wife who loves football. You find a unicorn who genuinely loves football. That's great until something like this happens, especially if y'all don't root for the same team. Then it gets weird. Costco is Xing. I think I know why. Yesterday, they released a special edition like Pokemon set or card or something, and Costco was carrying it, and apparently it was like a big deal to get one of these, to the point that there were fist fights of grown-up losers in the Costco everywhere fighting over Pokemon cards. Listen, I'm not here to judge anybody's form of entertainment. If you are an old and you like to deal with the Pokemon cards, cool, whatever, have your way. I watch like 8 hours of professional wrestling a week. I'm good. If you are throwing hands over Pikachu, you're a dork-ass loser.
Here's the thing, Rob, you got to catch them all. And so whoever was fast enough to get in there.
You got to catch all what? These hands?
Probably. Some people might have been elusive and been able to duck those hands.
Rob used uppercut. It's super effective.
By the way, that's what the Costco parking lot looks like every day.
It's not.
It's trying to get in and out.
I'm at Costco once a week. It is not a big deal. I don't want any more of you to go to Costco. I got enough Costco. All right. I want the Costco to myself. But I can tell you this. I've been to Costco, 200 times because I am a Black Card executive member. All right. Get on my level. As an executive member, I can tell you, I've been to Costco 200 times, never been in a fight. You know what there is? There's one problem at Costco, Lonzo, and you know exactly what it is. It's you entitled, spoiled ass old people It's you old people. I'll just take 30 minutes to walk across this aisle and I'll leave my buggy right here in front of the produce. And then when I go to the checkout line, I get to go right to the front because my biggest accomplishment in life is I haven't died yet. Out of the way, Glenda. I don't have all day.
They probably do call it buggy too. I mean, because older people at some point, even if you call it a shopping cart your entire life, when you get somewhere around 70, I think you just automatically start calling it a buggy.
I did that the other day.
Oh, you called it a buggy. Oh, no.
Because that's what Courtney's family calls it.
Yeah.
It's a buggy. It's always been a shopping cart.
By the way, it's not a Southern thing. It in Ohio, too, because we worked at a lot of grocery stores. Shopping cart, except for the old people who call it buggies.
Dude, we went to the Costco and we were walking around. I like a chocolate. I love chocolate covered raisins. So I went to get a thing. And she's like, well, we got to get this. And I was like, oh, I need to go get a buggy. And she did like this, Lonzo. I was like, oh no. I need you to know I've done nothing but every time I see one now, I'm like a child. I'll just go shopping cart because I'm rewiring my brain.
Or you're trying
shopping
to.
cart.
You're trying to.
Oh yeah.
There are cracks in there. All right. The next thing that's Xing is Bob Uecker.
R.I.P. Bob Uecker. Just a bit outside. Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball. The dude was iconic. The dude was calling baseball games into his 90s. And not just calling them well. If Bob Uecker cut in front of me in line at a Costco, I'd have let him go. Because Bob Uecker was a legend. To this day, Major League. One of the greatest sports movies of all time, in my opinion. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
And all of the movie of Major League, which there are tons of quotes, including one guy who talked like this, which makes him infinitely quote. Bob Uecker provided me more quotes that I use in my day-to-day life than maybe any other baseball guy from any other baseball movie. The man was not just a legend and icon, effortlessly funny. Go watch him on any late night show. The dude was bleeping hysterical. R.I.P. Bob Uecker. You will be sorely missed.
And you've just proved my favorite part that I live like most days. Bob Uecker's color guy. Less is more.
He's not the best color man in the business for no reason. Bob Uecker, what a goat.
All right, the next thing that's Xing is Jeff Hardy.
So just Jeff Hardy?
Just Jeff Hardy.
By himself?
Just Jeff Hardy.
Did he retire?
No.
That's too bad.
It's Royal Rumble. It's everywhere. Thinking that Jeff gets to finish his story. People are hoping to
finish what story?
To see Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk.
The story where you keep getting second chances and you keep bleeping it up?
Listen,
that story?
Yeah, you're right. And all right, let's not end on that. Now, finally, Jim Carrey is Xing.
Birthday?
Yes.
60.
63.
Oh, I can usually be within like 2 or 3 years.
When he was I think he was like 30 In Living Color. So,
all righty then. I'm gonna watch The Mask. Best Jim Carrey movie. And Cameron Diaz. Sometimes hot, sometimes not. Very hot. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We're off on Monday. We'll see you back here Tuesday to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
You know, James, you could just move their carts out of the way. What are they going to do? I mean, I know it's mean, but I mean,
get your brittle old bones out of the way, Ethelda. I ain't got all gosh darn day. Unlike you.
Blocking the aisle, I think, is a woman thing overall. I don't think it has to do with old people. The let me stand on the other side of the aisle to look at something on. Yeah, that's a woman thing. It's not. And I don't care if you get mad at me, women.
No, there's some old dudes up in the and the thing is, the old dudes in the Costco, I will get, if nothing else, I can give the blue hairs in the Costco credit for one thing. If you ask, pardon me, ma'am, may I slip by you? Can I get over there? Usually, not always. Usually, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be in your way." Usually, not always, but usually. The old men up in there, yo. They're like, I want to scrap. It's like, all right, Grandpa, you haven't been in a fight since freaking Normandy. Why don't you back off me, dog?
I seriously doubt there's anybody that old in there.
I know, but I have to make.
You might throw out Nom or something, and that's still maybe out of reach.
That's out of reach.
All right, Nam was like in What?
I love that you just turned into a movie character.
Yeah, I did.
Nam was back.
Back in Nam. Nam was what in 1969, 1969, 1970.
Turned into Forrest Gump on me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had too many Dr. Peppers.
Something bit me. All right, we got a jet, kids. Thank you all for being here. You're all spectacular people. Tell your friends about us. Help us grow the show. We want to get rich and famous. Goodbye.
I'm also wearing a Dr.